So, ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, doctors, I'm very honored and pleased to welcome so many of you here with us on the Infini Science Day. What is more, on the worldwide premiere of our new range of the products from the V line. This extraordinary time is for us very special because we are launching of the new V line products for biostimulation, and the whole complete line is medical devices, and we are able to be delivered for the doctors, for the patient, extraordinary, amazing products. I would like to thank all of you for coming and being with us and being a part of the Infini Premium Filler brand. I would like to also welcome today our special guest, Dr. Hassan Galadari, who is with us for today's event and who will be delivering to you the lecture about the new range of the products from the V-Line simulators. And after the break, he will provide live injection with the new range of the product. Professor Hassan Galadari is an American board certified graduate on Boston University dermatology program in the USA. He's a professor at dermatology in the UAE University and retains a license in the Medical Board of California. Dr. Hassan Galadari will be giving a lecture today as well in live treatment with the new range of V-Line. So please welcome on stage Dr. Hassan Galadari, and I hope you're going to enjoy today's workshop. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Perfect. Well, thank you, Anna. Thank you for this wonderful presentation. Thank you all for being here. There's a lot of people from different parts of the world, so this is really nice. I mean, I like the whole international concept of people being around, enjoying their time, especially in a beautiful place like Milan, and especially in this hotel. This is a really very nice hotel. Different parts of the world. I mean, I'm going to be calling up. I mean, I've got you for 2 hours. 2 hours right now. You guys are stuck with me talking, so I need to kind of make you feel comfortable. Plus, at the same time, I really want you to also be involved in my talk, because what will happen after probably 30 minutes to 45 minutes, I'll start feeling tired. I'll probably fall asleep. So you need to have to wake me up. So we want to try to make this as interactive as possible. So if you do have any questions, please let me know. Don't say, oh, we're going to ask him later. No, ask me now. It's much better to ask and to be involved in that sense. So without, I'm going to start off. I've got a long presentation. The way that we're going to be dividing for housekeeping purposes, the way that we're dividing the day is that we're going to be hearing me talk for a couple of hours. After that, we're going to stop for a little bit of a lunch break. So you guys will enjoy some good quality lunch. I don't know if Anna has any pizza that's going to be put together or pastas, but we are in Italy, so that's definitely something for sure. After that, then we have the fun part, which is the injection part. And then we get to see the great products that I'm going to be showcasing today while we're in person, and they're going to be right here live, so that you can definitely see it on a one-to-one kind of basis. All right, so without further ado, let's start off the day. Before we start off, I'd like to know where everybody's from. So, if there is, I'm going to, let's say, let's go continent by continent. Let's start off with Asia. Anybody from Asia? I'm from Asia. Okay, so we've got a couple of people from Asia. That's it? Not a lot of people from Asia. What's going on, Anna? We need to penetrate that market. Okay, so, and most of the Asians don't even look Asians. All right, so nobody from Korea or from China or anything of that sort. That's unfortunate, but I'm sure Anna's working on it. Anybody from Australia? That's a whole continent. I'm choosing the continents that nobody's from. All right, so nobody's from Australia. I'm just showcasing to Anna that she needs to kind of really push the product into those areas. All right, how about anybody from Africa? Anna, what's going on? So where is everybody from? Anybody from Europe? Let's show. All right. Oh, the majority is from Europe. All right, this is like white privilege right now. Which part of Europe are you guys from? Are you guys from, anybody from France? Macedonia. All right, who's from Macedonia? Oh, you got a couple there from, oh, you got the whole line there from Macedonia. That's nice, that's nice. Anybody from Italy? No Italians? Okay, so let's not tell the Italians that we're here, okay? And we don't want to do that, okay? All right, very good. Anybody from the Americas? Let's start with North America first. No, that's like North now. I was like, we're not from Canada or the United States. We don't care about them. Anybody from South America or Central America? Ah, we got a big group over here. Which part? I mean, I see my friends from the Dominican Republic, Platana Power. Venezuela. Oh, nice. Okay, that's no wonder you guys look beautiful. A lot of the Venezuelan people are very beautiful. Anybody from Brazil? No. Okay. All right. So Anna, this is a little market survey of like where people are from, so that you can push for your products. All right, great. So we're going to start off. I'm Dr. Hassan Galadari. I'm a dermatologist. I'm a board-certified dermatologist from Dubai, the United Arab Emirates. Show of hands, who's been to Dubai? Not the airport, the actual city. All right, good. All right, so I'm from Dubai, the United Arab Emirates. I sound and talk in an American English just because I did my training in the United States. I am not American, please. Don't mistake me for one. I don't want to be that. All right, so what we're going to be doing today is that I'm going to be taking you on a journey. We're going to start off first with the following. So first of all, this is my little non-disclosures. It's basically I've got a little textbook on soft tissue augmentation, and just recently also published another thing on cosmetic dermatology. So that's out there. These are my little 2 books. But what we're going to be talking about today is that we're going to talk a little bit about the aging process first and how we're able to kind of treat the aging process, because the aging process is complex. I mean, if you look at yourselves now, and then you look at yourselves 10 years ago, and maybe even 20 years back, you all look completely different, okay? Some of you will probably look better, and they age like fine wine, as they say. Some of you know they would require treatments for them to actually get a little bit better. And we need to have the necessary tools for us to combat the aging process, no matter how it is, whether it's on the skin, epidermis, dermis, going all the way to the subcutaneous tissue, to the actual muscles, and then finally into the fat, into the actual bones, because there's definite bone resorption that tends to happen. So we're going to talk a little bit about the aging process. Then we talk about the different materials that are found in the skin, because we know that the parts of the skin are made up of different aspects, and every aspect has to be treated differently. HA, hyaluronic acid, is different than collagen. It's different than elastin. It's different than fat. Everything is a little bit different. And the way that we need to approach them, we have to approach them in a certain way for us to achieve optimum benefit for our patients, so that we're also going to be doing that. So I'm going to take you a little bit more on a journey of all the materials that are found, and then what we tend to kind of focus on, which is what we consider the biostimulation effect. Okay? And that's the whole point of today's talk. We're not talking about filling, because everybody talks about filling, and you know this by now. You've got your patients coming in on social media and on TikTok. They tell you like, oh, everybody just is looking like too big, they're too overfilled. Nobody wants to do that. Everybody wants to be biostimulated. They want to stimulate their own, basically body to get the maximum benefit and the best results. And they also want to start looking natural. And the natural part, it's 2024. Natural part just only started probably about 1 year to 2 years from now. If you remember, just 5 years back, everybody was just being overfilled. But just recently now, everybody, especially all the celebrities, have started deflating themselves, not injecting just HA, slowly removing the HA so that they don't look too big, so that they can look also more natural. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that too, because that's what we try to kind of achieve with our patients. We want them to look their best. We want them to look very, very natural. All right, so why do we do this? We do this because when we see our patients, when they come in and see us, the first thing that they tend to look at is their skin. You woke up in the morning. Did you wake up this morning? I'm sure you did. What was the first thing that you saw, apart from your Instagram account? What did you see? You went to the bathroom. I'm hoping, and you washed your face, and you saw yourself in the mirror, right? The first thing that you do is that you see yourself in the mirror, and you go to yourself like, I've got And I've started to notice this on myself. I'm going like, I'm developing these little dark circles around my eyes. I've got these little fine lines now that I'm starting to see. The worst case is for you to wake up in the morning and you look at yourself and you feel that way. I wear glasses, so I don't see myself. I'm completely blind. But people who are not, who look at themselves, that's the first thing that they tend to do. So skin is really what draws people in. Okay, the first thing that they see that when they come in to see you is because they've seen changes on their skin, whether it's spots, because pigmentation tends to happen as we get a little older, whether they're lines, whether it's deflation. That's the first thing that they tend to see each and every morning. Also, whenever it is that we're seeing people, is that I'm talking to you right now, I'm looking at your skin. The first thing that I tend to look at, I'm looking at you. You're a very beautiful woman, okay? Guys, we look at women's skin, okay? We don't look at other parts of her body, okay? That's the first thing that we tend to do. Just the skin, okay? So that's the first thing that we tend to do. We look at her skin, we see that, oh, her skin is rejuvenated. It's, I can see that little reflection. It looks really good. She looks healthy. She looks youthful. She's got this little shine. So that's very, very important. Okay, so that's the first thing that we tend to look at. The second component is basically now the generation today, everybody has taken selfies. Show off hands. Who has taken a selfie today? Look, we've got nearly half the people here who've already taken selfies. Okay, and you guys are all healthcare providers. Okay, imagine we've got regular people who are out there. All they do is that they're walking around and they're taking selfies. Okay, it's unbelievable. I've got 4 kids. Okay, the little ones, they're the 10 and 6. They have, for me, I feel that they've got the most documented life in the world. Okay, I know exactly what they've eaten because they've taken pictures of what they've eaten. Okay, I know exactly where they are going because they've taken pictures of that and what they're playing with because that's what they do. This generation just loves pictures. I remember because somebody's been tagging me on Instagram and it's you right there. I know you, okay? And all she's been doing, she's been showing herself at the airport in Orly. You were in Orly, right? Yes, see, there you go. She's been showing herself and at the airport in Orly, coming here, and she's also shown herself this morning as she arrived. All people do, especially this generation, and there's nothing wrong with it, is basically showcasing their life. And that's the reason why it's the selfie generation. Because they do that, looks is very, very important. If you're going to start using filters, that's something else. But a lot of people now have stopped using the filters. You look exactly like the way that you are. I don't know if you've used any filters, but you look very natural. So the same thing that I'm seeing now is that I saw on Instagram. All right, so that's basically how it is. So it is a reflection of health. What people are doing is that they want to kind of look healthy because that is the reflection that they're basically seeing. It is also a reflection of youth. And at the same time, it's been pushed on by us, by media. Look at all the different social media platforms that we have. We've got Instagram. Who has Instagram here? All of you. There you go. Who's got Snapchat? Not a lot. I'm surprised. Usually people from the Middle East, they just love Snapchat for some reason. Okay? But the stock is going down. Who's got TikTok? Oh, you guys look, I'm sure you guys are the dancers on TikTok, right? So every platform has a little bit different, but you can see here where social media is going. It's for us, I'm not talking about you because you guys are professionals, but we're talking about the patients who come in and see us. So that's very, very important. The treatments that we tend to provide for them are extremely of great importance because it helps them perform what they're usually doing on a regular basis. So that's basically how it's kind of pointed out. One of the features, one of the things that we have is hyaluronic acid. So everybody knows hyaluronic acid, right? You guys have heard of hyaluronic acid. I'm going to take you a little bit more. I'm a nerd. People think that he's cool, he's got his hair gelled, he looks really hot, okay? But I'm technically very much a nerd. Okay, I love the scientific aspects of things, and I'm really going to try to push a little bit of science here in a nice, simplified way so that you get to understand what we're doing and how it is, the basic components affects our basically patients. So let's look at hyaluronic acid. So I'm going to divide, this is basically the dermis that you're able to see. And we've got different components of the dermis, which is the second part of the skin, which is the second layer. The first part over here is the hyaluronic. So this is hyaluron. Hyaluron is a material that is able to absorb water. That's all it does. It is able to absorb water. It's like a sponge. It is so good in absorbing water, it is able to absorb it by more than 250 times its actual natural weight. So if you have 1 gram of hyaluron, it can actually absorb 250 grams of just water. Okay, it's just like a little sponge, kind of blows it away. The reason for this, why is it important? Because if it's absorbing water, it is able to hydrate the skin. And one of the reasons why we tend to use hyaluronic acid is that because we want to hydrate our skin. The second component over here, you guys know what this component is? What's also found in the dermis? Collagen, absolutely. Now, collagen is different than hyaluron. Collagen is a protein. Hyaluron is a sugar. Collagen is a protein. Protein is, anything that's protein is more or less structural. It provides you with structural integrity of the skin. Okay, so that's basically what collagen is all about. It is difficult to inject collagen. You can find collagen. There are certain fillers that are out there that contain collagen, but it's very difficult because, first of all, the source of collagen is difficult to achieve. If you've remembered, who's been practicing from the 80s? Who's been injecting since from 1985 or 84? No? Everybody's young? Okay. If you remember, if you remember, the first fillers that we tended to use were actually collagen. If you remember Zyderm or Zyplast, that was collagen. That was bovine collagen. And we had to source it from cows. Okay, we had to get it from cows. Before we injected it, we had to make sure that the patient is not, allergic to it. And then we started injecting it a couple of weeks after. What was the problem with injecting collagen? What used to happen? Why is collagen not available? Why do you think? Apart from the source, okay, so you have to get it from outside. So apart from the reactions, yes. How about its... Okay. How about its longevity? It didn't last that long. The problem with collagen is that it lasted maybe 2 to 3 months and then it just completely goes away. You've got such a big bag you can't find your phone, huh? And the person really wants you. She's got like 2 or 3 phones. So the problem with collagen is that it doesn't last that long. So if it's injected, it doesn't last that long. So we have to come up with a certain way in which we can actually enhance our own collagen. Okay, so that's how we kind of try to conform biostimulation, is that how can I use something to enhance my own natural collagen rather than bringing collagen from outside. So that's basically your second component, collagen. Provides you strength and structure. The final one is this one over here. What is this? Elastin, of course. It gives it away because it looks like elastic rubber bands. Okay, that's elastin. Elastin is the least number of components in terms of percentage that's contained in the dermis. And elastin is also very important for us to provide healthy-looking skin because it simply provides you the elasticity of your skin. So elastin is also very, very important. There is no filler that contains elastin. You have to also stimulate your own elastin. So these two, collagen and elastin, have to be stimulated from outside so that the body produces its own. Because what happens as we get older, all 3 components, HA, collagen, and elastin, become less. Okay, that's the problem, okay, as we get older. And this is how it tends to look like. You can see here all the different components. The fibroblast, which produces its collagen, is unable to kind of meet the demand of what the body wants. The way that you're producing collagen today is different than when it was when you were 15 or 16 years of age, as you were growing. Your fibroblasts were much more robust, much stronger. Not only were they providing you good collagen, but they were also providing you with the good amount of collagen. But what happens is that as we get a little older, the amount becomes less, and also the quality of the collagen becomes less. And you can see it over here in this little cartoon. Everything starts going down. There's an 80% decline as we reach from our 20s all the way to our 80s. There's a huge decline that tends to occur on all the major components, whether it's your HA, whether it's your collagen, or whether it's your elastin fibers. And this is very, very important for us because for us to achieve a youthful looking appearance, we have to make sure that the production of all these materials are actually produced naturally. You can bring them from the outside, but if you're able to kind of reprogram the fibroblasts to be able to do that, that is even much more beneficial. All right. So signs of aging usually start off, people who will say in their 20s. I don't know. I mean, who's in their 20s here? I don't know. I don't buy it from you guys. I don't think you guys are really in your 20s? How old are you? 20. Okay, I'll put you in the 30. I was like, you got one more year. he looks 37. How old are you? 25? So we've got a baby over here. 24? Okay, all right. So we got people in their 20s. So as you can see here, in your 20s, what happens if you are in your 20s, the signs of aging are not really there. Okay? How much? 41? Yes. There we go. Who's in their 40s? Yes. Good. All right. So we'll get to you guys very, very soon. So signs of aging in their 20s don't usually exist, okay? Because in their 20s, everything is being optimized. However, it doesn't mean that people in their 20s don't need any treatment. You need to treat those people in their 20s because you want to make sure that their fibroblasts are actually producing their production in a normal way. So you might think, because if you have all your armamentarium of the things that you're able to use, I don't want to stimulate their collagen, I don't want to stimulate their elastin, but I want to make their HA levels very normal. Hence the reason why you would use, for example, certain products that contain hyaluronic acid for those patient population group for them to achieve good looks in their 20s. Okay? So that's how you want to kind of conform it. So don't go ahead, and this is something that I'm letting you know, don't go ahead stimulating their collagen in their 20s. They're too young. Once you start hitting your 30s, who's 30 here? Who's in their 30s? Okay. All right. You're 30? 50? I'm 30. All right, so once you start hitting your 30s, that's when first signs of aging starts to occur. Okay? And the most common areas in which they start appearing or popping up from are the areas of high dynamism, meaning the areas that move all the time. Which part of your body moves all the time? Your face? Okay. Which part of the face moves all the time? He's like walking like this, his face. Which part of your face moves all the time? The lips? I don't know what you're doing with your lips that's moving all the time. But that is correct. The first signs of aging that tends to happen occurs around the eyes, okay, because the eyes are always blinking, okay? In her case, maybe in the Dominican Republic, they like to talk too much, or maybe they like to use their lips too much in a certain way. Their signs of aging tends to occur more or less in the mouth. But the first signs of aging occurs in the areas around the eyes. Hence, when it comes to treating those patients, okay, you would use products that are going to be catered to the areas of high dynamism, meaning the areas around the eyes, because that's the treatment in which you would want to kind of conform to them. Okay? So you have certain products that you can utilize that will be great for those areas around the eyes because you want to make sure that the area is hydrated, it's rejuvenated, it looks good. Once the person reaches their 40s, who's in their 40s? Okay, good, good. Once the person reaches their 40s, that's the time in which you really have to consider doing certain interventions. And in here, you are able to kind of start utilizing your biostimulatory products. For example, whether you're going to be injecting polylactic acid, whether you're going to be injecting specialized forms of hyaluronic acid to kind of even revitalize and rejuvenate the skin, that's the time in which you would utilize it. So you can see here, every age group has its own different way of treatment. Okay? So that's very, very important. So don't try to push a certain treatment very early in the phase, okay? Because they may not need it, okay? And this is what happens, is that people end up having complications because of that, okay? Who's in their 50s? Okay, wow. Anna, you're in your 50s? You're turning 50, wow, okay. She doesn't look 50s. You too? Okay, you guys don't look fit. Oh, you too. All right, you guys don't. I have to admit, you guys are in the right business because you guys look pretty good. Very well maintained, very well maintained. So when a person reaches their 50s, that's the time in which hyaluronic, collagen, and elastin not only become less in production, but also the quality of it becomes also not the best. Okay? Here, treatments for those age groups are the ones that have to be categorized, and you have to optimize them. And for those patient population groups, that's the time in which you're able to combine treatments. Okay? So it's not just injectables. You would use an injectable with probably an energy-based device to get the best results. You have to optimize their treatment because of that. Okay? Finally, who's in their 60s? You're the only one? Right? you look pretty good, very distinguished. 68? Damn, man, you look good. You have a boat outside? You look like a person who owns a yacht or something. Nothing? I don't know. I mean, he looks like a guy who where are you from? Ah, Barcelona. You don't have a boat in Barcelona on the Barcelona Pier? No? You don't understand much. Oh, no. He does not have a boat in Barcelona. He has one in Monaco. So when you have a person in their 60s, here hopefully, if it's unlikely, especially this time in age, is for you to find a person in their 60s who's never had any treatments, unless they've been living in a rock somewhere. Or in Finland? Yes. Oh, wow, okay. Or in Finland, okay. So if they are in their 60s and they haven't tried anything at that stage, don't feel that you are pressured to use everything all at the same time. You have to also start easing them in. If you put too much all at the same time, it's also not going to be very natural. So you really have to kind of ease them in terms of basically the treatments that you're going to be providing for them. So that's basically patients in their 60s. We're not going to go all the way up to the 70s. I don't think we have anybody in their 70s here, do we? That's going to be very surprising. Okay. Anybody who's in their 70s and still working, okay, should not be here. They should be retired somewhere. Okay. All right, so let's look at the history about HA. So HA, when was it first discovered? HA was discovered in the 1880s in the vitreous humor, okay, so of basically certain types of animals. And it was, that's how HA was first discovered at that stage. And it was known as hyaluromucin because that's how it kind of looked like. It looked like a gel, okay, basically a mucin gel. And that's where it was kind of put together. And the way that you kind of combined it is that in the 1930s, it was also that they found that there was an amino sugar that's associated with it, so that's why it was called hyaluronic, okay? So it became hyaluronic acid, okay? And then after that, they've been able to utilize HA in many different treatments and because they found that HA is available not just in the skin, it's pretty much everywhere. Every organism that is out there, from human beings all the way to insects, such as flies or cockroaches, have hyaluronic acid. Hyaluronic acid is everywhere, that in every living organism contains a little bit of HA. Okay. So the turn of the 20th century, HA became the gold standard when it came to injections, okay, or when it came to the revitalization effects. And that's the reason why in basically our armamentarium, HA is very, very crucial because it is the gold standard for us to achieve anything. What is the component of HA? Where does it exist in our body? I mentioned it's everywhere, but on the skin, because 50% of HA on our skin actually, 50% of HA in the body exists in the skin, okay? And it's found mainly in the dermis, okay? So that's how it is. It is produced, of course, by your fibroblast. And if you remember your histological slides, from your medical school books, is the pinkish hue that you're seeing in that area, that's basically your HA that you're seeing. All right, HA has also been pretty much utilized in a number of drug deliveries, okay? A lot of people have used HA. Now, if you look at the literature reviews of hyaluronic acid, you can see here there are many publications of hyaluronic acids that are out there. There's so many. Look, there's nearly 140,000 papers that were published on hyaluronic acid. It's the most published molecule that we tend to utilize in terms of the stuff that we use for our anti-aging, okay? And there are nearly 20,000 patents of HA that is used in the medical field, okay? Hyaluronic acid, of course, belongs to a family. The family is what is known as the glycosaminoglycans. It is a sugar. Okay, so it is a sugar. So if people are talking about what is HA, it is not a protein, okay? It is a sugar. And it belongs to this group known as the glycosaminoglycans. The members of this group will include the dermatan sulfate, the heparin sulfate, the keratin sulfate. The only difference between them and HA is that HA, the way that the body is able to produce it, is basically conformed on its molecular weight. Okay? If the body produces a very small or low molecular weight HA, it is much different than when it produces a high molecular weight HA. It is the only part of that family in which the size matters. Okay? So size when it comes to HA is very, very important. What are the functions of it? In its passive form, HA, as I mentioned, is able to provide absorption of water. And by doing so, it provides basically pretty much a filling effect. That's why hyaluronic acid fillers are number one. However, in their low molecular weight, they're also able to signal the body to produce different aspects, whether it's collagen, whether it's immunomodulation. That's what HA is able to do. So the different weights have different, different functions. So let me give you a little bit of fun facts about HA. First of all, we've got a 70-kilogram man, which is basically somebody who's here. I don't know. I've never met a 70-kilogram. Who's 70 kilograms here as a guy? I was like, nobody. Usually ladies. So 70-kilogram man is very, very thin. 70-kilogram lady is like, well, I was like, I don't know. Just be very careful. Okay, but it contains 70-kilogram individual. Let's put it that way. Whether it's a man or a woman, contains about 15 grams of HA. That's 15 grams. 50%, as I mentioned earlier, actually exists in the skin, mainly in the dermis. Okay, so that's a little bit fun fact for you to kind of understand. The synovial fluid, the joints, as we're moving, because that's where HA actually came from. We've used the HA from our orthopedic surgeon friends, because that's where they use it. They use it for the knees, for example. Okay, and we started injecting it for the face, because the synovial joint contains, for every ml, about 3 to 4 milligrams. That's also very good. So that's where it actually exists. The vitreous humor in the eyes contains also a big chunk of HA, about 0.1 milligrams. That's where it's concentrated. Remember, HA was first discovered in the vitreous humor of certain animals. Okay, so that's basically where it is. The turnover of HA is so fast. It's about 5 grams per day. The body is producing 5 grams, removing 5 grams. Producing and removing. And as we get older, what happens is that the production becomes less, but the removal is still the same. And hence the reason why the person starts looking old. Okay, good. So that's basically a little bit of fun facts. How is it degraded? How does HA, how does the body break down HA? How do we break it down? What does the body have? What enzyme? Hyaluronidase, absolutely. The body has its own hyaluronidase. There are different components, different basically formulations of hyaluronidase that the body contains, okay, that is able to break down hyaluronic acid, and that's how it's basically degraded, okay? And as I mentioned earlier, this is what HA tends to look like in terms of its molecular weight. If you have a very big HA, about 1,500 to 1,700 kilodaltons, we utilize it more or less for adjuvant treatment. If it's 500 kilodaltons, a little bit less, it's used for immunomodulatory effects. If it's about 300, it also has an anti-antitropic effect. So different sizes of your HA, which is pretty much the same, the actual HA is the same, but the sizes are different, have different components, okay, and have the capabilities of different activities. That's why it's very important. And as we kind of move along and describe all the different HAs that we have, especially what Infini has, the size here matters, okay, because if you have something that was very, very low, it will definitely cause an allergic reactions. And I'm sure everybody has heard of delayed hypersensitivity reactions with HA. They occur because of the very low molecular weight that is available in those HAs. Okay, it's because the size is actually small. The bigger the HA, the more it has an effect on terms of size. So let's look at the advantages. This is the high molecular weight, has anti-inflammatory, immunosuppressive properties, antioxidative effects. And also it regulates fibroblasts to produce collagen, say, for example. The low molecular weight is pro-inflammatory. It makes the inflammatory process much more robust. And delayed hypersensitivity reactions and even allergic reactions usually occur with a low molecular weight. When we talk about low molecular weight, we're talking about things that are less than, I would say, 150 kilodaltons. And it also has immunostimulatory effects and also stimulates angiogenic properties. Good. So how does it degrade? We've talked about the degradation. It can, because due to the effect of hyaluronidase, which is the enzyme. 70% of it is basically broken down by that. Other ways of basically breaking down hyaluronidase is usually through the effect of reactive oxidative stress. So reactive oxidative stress occurs through the effect of nature. If I'm going out into the sunlight, the ultraviolet radiation hits me, it will also break down the HA because of ROS production. Okay, so half-life in the skin is about 24 hours. Whatever it is that you're injecting, if you're injecting your HA, okay, if it's not put together in a strong, basically, in a gel form, what can happen to it is that within 24 hours, your hyaluronidase will break it down. Okay? In the eyes, because the eyes is a little bit more secluded, a little bit more protected, it can last a little bit more, so about 36 hours. And the cartilage, because the cartilage, first of all, doesn't even have any vascular supply, in the cartilage, the HA will last in 4 weeks. And finally, the vitreous humor also that's found inside the eyes, 70 days, because that's where it's encapsulated fully. Okay, so that's basically your degradation. And of course, as we mentioned, skin aging has to do with a number of components in which can affect our hyaluronidase. And hyaluronic acid is available basically and utilized in not just in dermatology or in terms of the skin, but in all different fields of medicine, whether it's cancer treatment, whether it's in orthopedics, et cetera. That's when we tend to use hyaluronic acid. So hyaluronic acid is a very, very important component in any type of your treatments. And for me, I consider basically HA a medical device, okay, if it's going to be injected. So it's very, very important to have it that way. The HA market is so big, okay, it's a very, very big market. And as you can see here, it is going to get even larger as we go with time, okay? We've got, we've got something basically like a white powder, because that's what it looks like. It's a white powder that we use a solvent such as water. We make it into basically a gel. We add a little bit of a cross-linker, which is, for example, BDDE, and then the cross-linker creates that little hard gel. Okay, so essentially, the way that the HA actually exists, it exists as a powder. Okay, so that's how it tends to look like. And this is how it looks like. So you can see here, raw HA, which is right on top, is powder. You put in your solvent, such as water, you make it into more liquid, then you break it down, and that's basically how it tends to look like in a gel. And you start putting it into little small injectables so that you're able to inject them. All right, and this cross-linking effect is very, very important, because if you're unable to cross-link your HA and you just simply inject it, the body is able to break it down very, very quickly. Okay, how does it look? This is hyaluronidase, exogenous hyaluronidase. We have our own hyaluronidase, but sometimes if we're injecting HA and it causes a little bit of a lump, we have to inject hyaluronidase. And hyaluronidase works. Let me show you a little bit of a video. This is a video from my good friend Tom Van Eyck, if you know him. So this is the gel of HA that is coming out. Okay, I will not name any brands, but everybody knows who Tom usually works with. Okay, so this is the biphasic gel that Tom usually likes. Okay, so you can, the company starts with a G. So, oh, it's written. Okay, and then you put in your hyaluronidase, and look at what happens to it. It slowly starts dissipating. Okay, so it works like magic. And it works immediately, okay? So if you have a patient in which you have a lump that's caused by your hyaluronic acid, a little bit of hyaluronidase, it simply makes it go away very, very quickly. And you can see it sometimes on the spot that the actual nodule goes away and disappears completely. Because it's a sugar, okay? Think of it as these sugar cubes that we have sometimes, like whenever it is that we drink tea, for example. Okay, you put there your sugar cube, and then you start breaking apart, the sugar basically starts kind of dissolving as part of the homogeneous solution. This is exactly what ends up happening with your HA. So in conclusion, when it comes to our HA, is that we have, first of all, HA is an integral component of the aging process. because it is the most common factor that's available in all the different aspects of our body, HA. We need to kind of replenish this through either injectables or through creams that we tend to use, such as skincare and so forth, that will provide us with the HA for us to achieve a much more youthful appearance. Okay, so we need to do that. Okay, and when it comes to injecting, we can inject it in both its cross-linked form to provide a filling effect, and we'll see that because Infini has given me a few so that I will inject, for example, their HA first before we cause the biostimulation, or it comes in as a non-cross-linked effect. The non-cross-linked effect, people will say, but you just told us it doesn't last that long. I'm not thinking about the actual effect of the HA immediately, just to provide hydration. I'm looking at the effect of the HA on the fibroblast that will produce the collagen for me, because that's where the non-cross-linked HA has its much maximum benefit. Now, if you look at this is basically the numbers. 1 gram of HA can produce about 40 to 50 syringes, okay? 40 of fillers, or whatever it is that you're using. 1 gram of white powder, okay? That will produce that. I mean, the next thing that comes into mind is these guys, okay? Because that's much better, and it's also legal, okay? So if you guys, we're in the right business. These guys are in the wrong business, okay? If you want to use something that's white, that is also addictive, because youth is addictive. Everybody wants to look good, okay? And it is an addiction. So if you want to use something that's addictive, but it's also legal, get into the HA business, okay? Make sure that you're friends with Anna. She'll hook you up. She's Walter White. All right, so that's basically the HA story. Any questions? Because we're going to move on. Any questions?
Question, but yes, it's legal, but there is a lot of competitors now.
Ah.
A lot.
Can we have some water, please?
I think they don't have a lot of competitors.
Who has a lot of competitors?
No, they don't have a lot of
Oh, they don't have a lot of competitors?
Yeah.
Oh, no, trust me, they do. Yeah. So that's a good question. So the question is, I think it's a valid question, because if you think about it, we have a lot of competition and a lot of HA, companies that are out there. And everybody's going to ask, which HA should we be using? Should we be using, an HA from this company, or should we be using an HA from that company? I think the most important thing is that you have to look at the actual product itself, the quality of the product, if it's pure, if it's reproducible. If I'm injecting this person, then I'm injecting the other person, I'm getting similar results that are valid, then that company works very well. Also, I want to make sure that whatever it is that I'm injecting does not cause adverse events or complications, because that's the worst case scenario that tends to happen, is that if you inject somebody with your HA, and then remember, because you can also develop problems or complications, such as hypersensitivity reactions. HA doesn't just fill, doesn't just provide you with a hydration effect, it can also trigger your immune system. So you want to make sure that you're using a product that doesn't do that. You don't want to trigger your immune system to have an allergic reaction. So it's very important to choose the right company for that. And the only way to do this is for you to try. And at the same time to also ask your colleagues whether this company is good, whether that company is good. So that's basically my take-home advantage. The other thing is that look at their diversity. The nice thing about what they've got is that, like, I was talking to her, as I was telling her, you have just too many materials, too many SKUs. You get confused sometimes. But at the same time, if you do have that, it just gives you more options for you to get the best results. Sometimes you may be comfortable with just one. Other people will be comfortable with 3. Okay, so it all depends on how you would perform your basically task in your practice to choose the right amount of basically material for those type of patients. So that's hopefully that answers kind of your question. Any other questions? Yes. Yes. I'll show it. I'll show you that publication. We just published one in January. So we published, that's a good question. The question is that which HA actually enhances collagen? Okay, and I will show you a publication once we start talking about the biostimulation. So the way that today's talk is going to be divided is that I talked a little bit about HA, then I'm going to start moving towards the rheological properties of HA, which is basically the properties of flow. I'm trying to kind of make it a little bit more interesting. Then I'm going to talk about biostimulation. When I talk about biostimulation, I will mention certain papers that will showcase that HA can also stimulate collagen. Okay? That's a good question. Any other questions? All understood? All right, good. All righty. So now we're going to move on to the rheology. Have you guys heard of rheology? What's rheology? Flowing. Yeah, that's why it's kind of flow. Well, it's a science of flow. I've written it there. It's basically how the actual gel flows in your syringe. Okay, so that's a rheological property, because not all materials or all gels that we're going to be injecting flow differently or behave differently. So we've got here, for example, you've got Infini S, M, L, XL. Okay? Yeah, they're like a t-shirt. You got small, medium, large, and X large. Okay? It's an easy way for you to remember them. But each and every one of them has different rheological physical characteristics. For example, you cannot inject something that is quite thick into the areas of very thin skin, such as the areas around the eyes. You can't do that. If you do that, what can happen? What happens if I take in, for example, XL, which is the thickest one, most volumizing, the structural one, and I put it for the T-troughs? What will happen? Tyndall is one. What's even worse than Tyndall? Vessel occlusion. I will see it as a nodule, okay, because the skin is very thin. Okay, so you don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you're using something that's very soft, that flows very easily into the areas of very thin skin, such as the areas around the eyes. So for example, in this area over here, I would use something such as S, because that's the rheological properties of that filler, works very well for that location. It's different than, for example, if I'm using or injecting the jawline. The jawline itself, what are the properties of a normal jawline? So like if I'm looking at a person's jawline, here it has everybody touch their jawline. What do they feel? Bone. They feel bone. So if I'm going to use a gel, I need a gel that is hard. Yes, I need to kind of conform the same exact structure or feel as that of my bone. So here, I would need something that is rheologically strong to provide that similar structure for that area. Okay? So in this case over here, I would use something such as XL. Okay? So it's very important for us to not just look at the letters S, M, L, XL and just follow it through. We really have to try to understand what makes this gel work for this. What are the physical properties of it? And a lot of people will say like, but that's not important. Really? Is it really important? It is important? I'm glad people from the Dominican Republic think it's important, but it's really good. Okay? But it is important. We have to really truly understand, because then we're also able to kind of compare this product with other products from other companies. Okay? And then we're able to choose the right product for our patient based on the rheological properties. Okay. So that's rheology. And this is what we're going to be doing. This is a little bit of objective of how it's actually pointed out. So rheology is the science of flow, okay? And it comes from the Greek word rheos, which is just simply flow. And it's mainly used in physics. Who was good in physics when they were in school? Oh, we've got a couple here. Just only two. Okay. You guys are the nerds and the... Go nerds, nerd power. All right. Who hated physics? All right, we've got people who liked chemistry. Yeah, most of you. Okay, all right, and biology. I'm hoping everybody here. Okay, who is not even a scientist? Who's here? Who's here thinking this is a telecommunication conference? No, this is not? Okay. Good, good. So we're talking about, when it comes to rheology, we're mainly talking about physics, okay? And at the same time, there's a little bit of chemistry behind it. Okay. She's not interested? She gets like, it's too much? Oh, too much information. All right, so let's look at physics. All right, so rheology and fillers. All right, for us to understand basically the rheological properties, we are able to kind of know exactly where we're going to be able to inject our filler materials. So the first thing that we have to understand is that we have to understand certain terms. The first one is known as the elastic modulus, also known as G prime. And I'm sure everybody has heard of G prime. Who has not heard of G prime? Nobody. Good. I'm glad. You have? Even though you're not good in physics, but you've... I'm sure. That's good. All right. Then you have the viscous modulus, okay, how viscous the material is, and that is G double prime, okay? Then we have the complex modulus, also known as the hardness of the filler, how hard the filler is, and that is G star or G asterisk. Then the cohesivity of the filler is very important, how cohesive the filler is. Is the filler, if we inject it, is it going to start breaking apart and go away? Or is the filler going to be able to kind of conform to one location and is quite cohesive for that location? Okay, so that's cohesivity. And then we have also the cohesive viscosity. All right, so other important terms that we have to also understand is known as the swelling ratio. From the name, what does swelling ratio mean? Just hit me with an idea of what it means. What do you think swelling ratio is? Well, who said that? Look at you. I thought you hated physics. Okay, good. That's very good. Because remember, there are certain fillers that are out there, especially HAs, that if you inject them, what happens after a few days? The area becomes swollen. Okay? This is known as the swelling factor, okay? And there are other HAs, if you inject them, there's no swelling. It's already been dehydrated. The HA has already been dehydrated, so what you see is what you get, okay? So that's very important because here you would understand that if you are going to be injecting those fillers that will swell, that you don't put too much of it so that it doesn't cause too much swelling for your patients. So swelling factor is very, very important. Then we talk about HA concentration because the concentration of the HA tends to matter in that sense, okay? And then finally, the degree of modification, especially when it comes to cross-linking, because there is always a degree of modification that tends to happen. This is your MOD, okay, when it comes to injecting your HA fillers. Okay, so we go back again to the exact same story. Raw HA exists as a powder. You put in your solvent, you dissolve it, you have an HA solution, you add your BDDE, which is your basically cross-linker. After that, you have a cross-linked HA, and then you can add more stuff to get more of a particular aspect, and then you're able to kind of have the final product. So that's basically how it tends to kind of work out. So this is the effect of BDDE. BDDE creates covalent bonds, okay? There are two different types of bonds in chemistry, okay? There's the ionic bonds and there's the covalent bonds. The covalent bonds are the strongest bonds that are produced by nature. Okay, so that's covalent bonds. BDDE is able to create covalent bonds on your fillers and causes the fillers basically to clump together. Okay, so it causes the HA to clump together. The more cross-linking, the thicker the product is. Okay, and if you're injecting a thicker product, okay, it will start feeling unnatural. Because most of the stuff that we have, for example, in our skin, the HA that we have, is not cross-linked. Our body does not produce cross-linking. Covalent bonds don't exist in our face. But we have to do it from outside HA to make sure that we have a long-lasting HA filler. Okay? But if you put too much of it that is cross-linked, if you start feeling it, patients will tell you that I'm feeling a little bit of a lump. Okay? It's because the filler has too much cross-linking. So you want to make sure that it's not too hard when it comes to that. There's also something known as a natural cross-linking. Sometimes because it comes to the coil, what happens to the actual hyaluronic acid is that it's like pasta, okay? It all clumps together. There's no cross-linking, but at the same time, it's just because it's coiling around each other, it exists pretty much as an effect of cross-linking. If you take, if anybody, nobody's Italian here, but if you ask, Andrea, you cook, right? Yes. When you do spaghetti, okay, you take the spaghetti pasta and you put it inside the pan. No, my accent has become Italian now. Okay, what do you do with the spaghetti? I know, but do you break the spaghetti? No. See, you never break the spaghetti, okay? And what happens is that you put it inside and then you stir it, and then if you take the spoon, what can happen? You take
all the mass.
Exactly. See, it is exactly like spaghetti. Okay, so HA becomes the natural hyaluronic cross-linking is very similar to that of spaghetti. Okay, it's just conformed together. The body is unable to break it that way because that's how it's supposed to naturally exist. Okay, so that's like the best perfect example of that. So you require cross-linking, which will provide it a little bit more a long-lasting effect, and at the same time you want to have it more natural, because then it becomes a little softer and it acts very similar to that of a spaghetti. Okay, so rheological testing, this is a little bit boring. We're not going to talk about it, but most of the time it works in the lab is that you take in your HA, you put it in a rheometer, this is a rheometer, and you put in a little bit of pressure, and the amount of pressure that the actual filler is able to push the rheometer is then conformed into what is known as the G prime. And we'll talk a little bit more as we kind of move along. So this is how it kind of looks like. You bring the rheometer, you turn it around, you see what happens to the actual filler. If it's a hard filler, it bounces back to normal. If it's a very thin filler, it starts becoming more flat. Okay? So this is the differences between them. So let's look at the G prime first. G prime. G prime simply is defined as the ability of the filler to withstand outside forces. Okay? So if I have a filler that I'm injecting into the, let me see here. I'm gonna pick on some people, okay? Is that okay? Can I pick on you? Can you stand up? Okay. Perfect. If you can stand up and if you could turn around. What is your name?
Markus.
Marakush? Where are you from?
Finland.
Finland, okay. A very strong Finnish name, Marakush. All right, so if you look at Marakush right here, okay, if I'm going to be injecting a filler in his cheeks, now he's got really nice, very nice rosy cheeks, okay? I'm not flirting with you, I'm married, okay? I'm to a woman. So hey, it's 2024, nobody knows, huh? So if I'm going to be injecting Marakush into the cheeks, okay, I would need a filler with a strong G prime, or a hard G prime, or a low G prime. High G prime, why? Why? Say it, it's okay. Yeah, because he's got very thick, skin here. If I'm going to use something that's quite soft with the low G prime, if I inject it, it's not going to do anything. It's like as if I'm injecting nothing. It's like I'm injecting water. Okay, I need something that was able to kind of push the skin, the subcutaneous tissue that Marakush has, and he has a lot of it, okay, so that we're able to see a clinical result. So that's where your G prime is. Your G prime is the ability to push the filler, okay, so it's the ability of the filler to withstand outside forces. And the outside forces of Marakush here is his skin and also his subcutaneous tissue. Thank you, Marakush. Please have a seat. All right, so that's your G prime, okay? Lower G prime fillers are fillers that we're going to be injecting in areas that are quite soft, okay? Like, for example, can we pick on somebody else? Now, everybody's going like, I hope he doesn't pick on me. Okay, all right, let's see. Oh, can I have you? Yes, also a person from Finland, I'm assuming, right? Okay, so the Finnish crowd are sitting over here. Maybe next time I'll go a little bit to the back. What is your name? Irene. Okay, also a very strong Finnish name. Okay, so if you look at Irene, if I am going to be injecting HA, turn around, Irene, this way, and smile. Smile. Yes, look at what she's got over here. What does she have? Irene, that you have crow's feet. You know that, right? Okay, good. Okay, so if I'm going to be injecting her crow's feet, there's not a lot of tissue here. The skin is very soft. For me to do this, what kind of G prime would I need? A low G prime. I need something that's soft, because if I put the same thing that I will put for Marrakush, it's just going to look like a nodule, okay? So I need something that's soft, a softer G prime, so that I can inject her crow's feet, okay, to get great results, okay? Thank you, Ren. Thank you. So that's how the differences are, because here, the outside forces are not too strong. Okay, so I don't need something that's very strong. I need something that's quite soft, actually, for me to get the best results. Okay, so that's the differences when it comes to G prime. G double prime is different. This is known as the viscosity effect, or basically how viscous the material is as it's coming out. Okay, so if a G prime is more than the G double prime, and this is usually the case, that means you are dealing with a material that is a gel. If the G double prime is more than the G prime, it is much more fluid. Okay? A G double prime just simply means the fluidity of the material as it comes out through the syringe. Okay? It's the viscosity, okay, of the material. Okay? So just keep this in mind. The G double prime should be more than the G prime should be more than the G double prime for it to be a gel. If it's the opposite, then it's more liquid. Example for this is that, let's use, for example, something like L and V1. Who's used V1? Have you guys used V1? Not
yet.
Not yet? Okay, so, or not yet, but you guys will. So for example, V1, okay, and L. This is a gel, this is a liquid, okay? Here, the G prime is more than the G double prime. That's why it is a gel. Okay, it has the capability, it's quite hard. The elastic modulus is higher. It is able to push. This one here is more liquidy. It's less viscous. Okay, the G double prime is higher than the G prime. That's why it becomes more of a fluid liquid effect rather than an actual gel. Okay, is that clear? I want to be very clear with this. I'm trying to simplify it as much as I can, but I want to make sure that everybody understands these concepts. Understood? Okay? I'm much better than your physics teacher, right? Okay. At least I'm better looking. I don't know who your physics teacher is. All right, so basically the G prime and the shearing effect, as you can basically see over here, we're going to move a little bit more. All right, you can take your G prime and your G double prime, put them in a mathematical equation, and you end up with what is known as the complex modulus. The complex modulus simply defines the hardness of the filler. It takes into consideration the elastic modulus and also the viscous modulus. So you put them together, and the clinical use has to do with hardness. Okay? If the filler is quite hard, so something that is high G star or G asterisk, you are going to be injecting it more deep as an implant. Okay? After you do that little mathematical equation. If, in the deep locations, if it is quite small, then you are going to be injecting it in the basically more superficial locations. All right, this is how it's actually defined. This is your G prime and your G double prime. You can see here, the higher the G prime, the lower the G double prime, it is much more rigid. Okay? If it's the opposite, it is less rigid. There's a little bit of moderate deformation that also tends to happen. Okay? The filler can easily be manipulated on how it tends to look. All right. Same thing. This is another classic example. You inject a patient with low G prime, you massage, you've changed the effect of how the filler looks like. If it's a thick or high G prime, it goes back to its normal shape. Okay, that's the G prime. That's the effect of the G prime. All right, very good. The tan delta is very similar to that, but usually the tan delta has to do with all the different fillers that are out there, and in most circumstances it is always less than 1, because simply it's G double prime over G prime. So it's quite the opposite of what we just talked about when it comes to the G asterisk. So in this way over here, the ratio is always less than 1. If it becomes very close to 1, what tends to happen, it becomes more liquid. If it's the less the 1 that it is, the more volumizing that it is. And this is how it tends to is divided across all the different fillers that are out there. Okay, we're not going to get into much into details of this. But once it's injected, this is how it tends to look like. If you want something that is quite soft, softer, G prime, or basically the G star, you are going to be injecting it more superficially into the dermis. If you want something that's quite thick, quite hard, you want to make sure, because you want to retain the shape and the size of it. Look at the shape and size of this. Look at this. Yeah, this works. So this, I want to make sure that it doesn't kind of become flat. I want it to kind of provide me a little bit of a lift. I need something that's quite hard over here, because I want to make sure that it's able to push the tissues. Very similar to what we did with Marrakesh. Here, something that's more soft, I want it to become part of the dermis. I want it to be integrated into the tissue, okay? And this over here is something that's quite soft when it comes to those areas that are going to be injected. Cohesivity has to do with the capabilities of the filler to come and attract one another. And it's very simply defined as this. This is a non-cohesive filler, is that the minute it's injected, it starts breaking apart. This is a cohesive filler. This is a fully cohesive filler. Most of the monophasic fillers, okay, are usually cohesive. Okay, so this is another component that you have to think about. Unfortunately, there is no mathematical equation that you can see when it comes to this. And the only scale that exists is this one over here, which is simply, from 1 to all the way to 5. Okay, 5 being fully cohesive. A fully cohesive filler are fillers that usually are injected for structural areas too. Okay, so these are the things that we have to keep in consideration. And this is an example of all of how the fillers are able to kind of be utilized across the rheological properties. So, you came, you saw, and I'm sure you're pretty much still confused, I'm assuming. Okay, so let's try to simplify it. Another thing that we kind of want to point it out is the swelling factor, which is rightfully, as you guys mentioned, is that if you want to put a filler that doesn't absorb water, the swelling factor is less. The swelling factor is more if it starts absorbing water. Okay? So usually fillers with a high G prime, the thick, very hard fillers, usually don't absorb a lot of water. It's the fillers that are of low G prime that tends to absorb a little bit more water. Meaning, your meso fillers or your meso injections that are less G prime, okay, that we just saw over here, V1, V2, are able to absorb and attract more water than your thicker fillers, such as, for example, your L or your XL. Okay? That's how you kind of conform it. And that's the reason why meso, the meso injections, are pretty much in the superficial part of the skin, in the dermis, for example, because you want to attract the water there. You want the swelling to be there, because it actually provides you with a better effect. But you don't want to kind of cause the swelling to be a little bit more on the deeper side because you're not seeing the results. Okay, so that's basically how it tends to look like. So that's basically the swelling factors across all the different fillers that are approved. All right, so HA concentration, size matters sometimes, and it's very important for us to kind of realize what is the concentration of HA that is utilized. Okay, and then of course safety matters. Safety is very, very crucial, because your HA can cause also a number of adverse events. I can't talk about anything without talking about adverse events, because adverse events can happen and can cause problems. And one of the most common adverse events that tends to happen, especially with HA, is the formation of nodules. Okay? This is something that we have to take into consideration. The MOD safety protocol is basically, it's a survey that is found in the United States in which doctors, usually, if they see an adverse event, they report it to the MOD, okay? It's a simple, kind of little program, a little website, and they basically point out what they tend to have as an adverse event. That's basically the MOD safety survey. If you look at all the different aspects, most of the aspect that tends to happen when it comes to the formation is usually nodule formation. That's what is usually basically described by doctors as part of the MOD survey, is that the adverse events that tends to happen through all injectables are usually nodule formations. Of course, you have infections. You can also have vascular, such as embolic problems, but most of them are nodule formation. And if you start taking which one causes nodule formations, it's very simple, okay? This is when it comes to the adverse events that is produced that can cause problems. You can see here all the different fillers and what they can cause in terms of adverse events. You see this one over here causes a lot of adverse events. Okay, hence the reason why I don't inject it as much. Okay, vascular adverse events, you can see also the same. Embolic adverse events are usually seen with your HA. Interesting enough, polylactic acid, okay, doesn't cause as much, for example, when it comes to an inflammatory response. Most of it is still within HA. HA causes more nodules than all the different other materials, and also more inflammation than all the different other materials that are out there. This is all published by the MOD. Okay? This is important for us to understand because if everybody says that, oh, I'm injecting polylactic acid, is it a safe product? It is quite safe. Polylactic acid is very, very safe. And if you're comparing it with an HA, you can actually have less problems with polylactic acid than with your HAs. Any questions there? Any questions on rheology? Did you guys want a break? Do you want lunch at 30 minutes? Oh, wow. Okay.
Is there a specific reason why some polylactics working better than others?
Okay.
Just the customer, like I'm the customer, I come to you and I ask, can you, no, I'm not asking, I'm asking what is the biggest reason for some polylactics work better than some not working at all?
You'll know it now when I talk about biostimulation. Okay, that's a good question. So she's talking about which material, why would certain materials work better than other materials, especially when it comes to polylactic acid. We'll talk a little bit more about it when we talk about biostimulation, which is the topic for the third component here. So are you guys okay? You guys still awake? All right, good. We're gonna try to speed up this process. We only have 30 minutes, and then we'll take a little bit of a break. Okay, after we're done. I think it's going to be a good lunch break. So biostimulation. Biostimulation is something that's very, very new that is out there right now because this is something that we are able to do. We've talked about HA as one of the materials that we're able to use for biostimulation. We've talked about the rheological properties that is important when it comes to these materials when they are injected as filler materials. Now we want to talk about the actual effect on stimulation of hyaluronic acid, collagen, and elastin. So biostimulation is the thing that is basically what it is. So what is biostimulation? Biostimulation is simply the process or the ability in which you are able to stimulate your fibroblast, you're just waking it up to make sure that it is able to function properly, whether it's going to be producing collagen or the different components of the skin. So that is biostimulation. You're able to do it either through physical aspects or chemical aspects. Physical aspects, of course, will include injectables, can also include energy-based devices. Chemical aspects, when it comes to, is usually due to the effect of certain, for example, peels or certain injectables that will also cause a little bit of biostimulation. Okay, so you got energy-based devices and fillers as neuromodulators that are going to be utilized for biostimulation. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the energy-based devices that produce biostimulation. Energy-based devices that produce biostimulation are many, okay? The most common ones will include, for example, based on the technology, will include microneedle radiofrequency, will include high-intensity focused ultrasound, will also include CO2 lasers, everything that will cause destruction of the skin, the epidermis or the dermis, can actually lead to the formation or what is known as biostimulation. Okay? So all of this basically are your energy-based devices. And the way that they tend to work all depends on the location in which they are going to be utilized for. For example, radiofrequency pretty much works mainly in the epidermis. Okay? It has an effect in the dermis, but pretty much it's a superficial type of an effect. Microfocused ultrasound is a little bit more deeper, so it's basically coming more a little bit on the deeper side, hence the reason why it is painful. Okay? One of the ways in which you can actually take the radiofrequency and combine it to make sure that it is deep is something that is known as microneedle radiofrequency. You've heard of microneedle radiofrequency? Microneedle radiofrequency is simply when you have needles that could be insulated or non-insulated, they go inside from the epidermis all the way to the dermis, and then they shoot the radiofrequency. It becomes much more focused. Okay? Examples of this? Give me an example of a microneedle radiofrequency device. Whoa. Okay. All right, so there you go. So this is yeah, that's good. All right, so that's one of the examples of a microneedle radiofrequency. It's much more focused, a little bit more on the deeper side. So you're able to play around with it. Microneedle radiofrequency is better than your radiofrequency because it is deeper. You know that the collagen exists in the dermis, so you know this one actually conforms into the dermis. Microfocus ultrasound, okay, is ultrasound. It is not radiofrequency. Give me an example of a machine that does that. Altera is one of them. Very good. Okay, perfect. So Altera is your ultrasound. It is a little bit, it provides a different type of energy, which is ultrasound. It is also quite deep. Things that are usually, Axon prime is another, okay? So it provides pretty much energy that is delivered into the dermis, okay? That is not radiofrequency, it's more ultrasound, and hence you get the results that are produced by that effect. But they're pretty much all the same in a sense that they cause destruction, physical destruction of the collagen, so that it allows or stimulates the body to produce new collagen. If something is broken, the body produces more collagen to try to fix it. Okay? So everybody was going like, but why should we break it so that the body tries to fix it? That's the only way in which, it's like going to exercise. If you want to go to, the reason why we exercise and we want to look good is that we want to kind of create muscles, for example. Okay? And when we carry very heavy weights, what we're doing is that we're breaking down our own muscles so that the body is then able to stimulate better muscle fibers or better muscle fiber organization to get a better shape. We're not destroying to make it look bad. We're actually destroying to make it more optimized in function. The body is lazy. If it's not stimulated, it just starts not doing anything. You always have to wake it up. And one of the ways to do this is through the provision of energy-based devices, okay? Or sometimes also injectables. But energy-based devices are going to be quite crucial into this area. Ablative lasers, give me an example of an ablative laser. CO2 or erbium, it's ablative laser. It is not deep. It is very, very superficial, okay? And what it does is that it removes the upper part of the skin, then causes wound. It's like a wound heal. And then the wound healing properties, because remember, wound healing happens from the dermis all the way up to the epidermis, the wound healing that occurs produces more collagen. That's why ablative CO2 can also do the exact same thing. Unfortunately, the problem with ablative CO2 is that it has a lot of adverse events. Complications tends to happen, okay? People with Fitzpatrick skin types 4, 5, you can lead to post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. Okay? Only people, for example, in Finland who are type 1 or 2 skin can get away with ablative lasers and still look good. Okay. So we talked a little bit about radiofrequency, and we talked about all the different ways that they can conform. You have monopolar, you have bipolar. Okay, that's how they tend to work. This is the one that is not this is just pure radiofrequency. Look at what tends to happen. It starts destroying the actual collagen fibers into the dermis, and then you have the conformation of new collagen fibers. Okay, exactly the same thing. This is the classic example of a radiofrequency machine. The old ones a long, long time ago is your thermage, not the microneedle. The old one is your thermage. You can see over here, this is your before and afters. This is exactly what tends to happen after the formation of this. Microneedle radiofrequency, as I mentioned earlier, provides these little small needles that go deep, they penetrate, then they produce pretty much their radiofrequency emission, and then you have a result. The depth, of course, you can control. For example, if you're using a Morpheus, you can do it either as 1, 2, or even 3. The deeper you go, the more effect that you can actually have. Also, the more adverse events that you can also develop. So you want to be very careful when it comes to how deep you want to go with your radiofrequency machine. Microfocus ultrasound, everybody has talked to me about this. The effect is a little bit deeper, not just into the dermis, but also the SMAS. So the muscles are also affected to that area. That's the reason why it has a little bit of a tension effect. Okay, it's because it affects the SMAS. Okay, it's able to cause a little bit of a lift because of this capabilities. Okay, how it tends to work? Same thing. You bring it a little bit closer. Depending on the depth, it is able to break down the subcutaneous tissue and the dermis to actually create much more straight parallel fibers. Okay, that's how it tends to work out and tightens the skin. Okay, so it tightens it through the effect of biostimulation. We finished with the energy-based devices. Now we're going to move a little bit towards the injectables. Okay, for the injectables, I've recently published an article about 2 years ago on which we looked at a review on the biostimulatory effects of all the different injectables that are out there. And we looked at polylactic acid, polycaprolactone, hyaluronic acid. Okay, these are the 3 ones that we actually looked at. Okay, this is how they tend to look like. These are your classic examples. For example, calcium hydroxylapatite, calcium hydroxylapatite. This is your gold standard when it comes to polylactic acid. And this is how they look like under the histological scope. I'm going to go a little bit more down, and I'm going to kind of pick on certain individuals, and I'm going to ask them how they can see things a little bit differently. Do you look at the PLLA? Okay, can you tell me what is different between PLLA and the other things that you're seeing?
Other have round. It's not. I don't know English well.
I don't know.
Sorry.
See, it's okay. Speak.
Of course, it's different because they are round
Uh-huh.
balls, and this is without borders.
Without orders. Okay. Okay. So her thing is that the polylactic acid is a little bit jaggedy. The calcium hydroxylapatite or the polycaprolactone is more round. What does that mean? What does it mean? What's the significance of this? I know you look like a person who studied before coming here. He's like opened the book or done something because like he wants to answer everything. I'll pick on you later. Okay, we'll give you the PhD of the presentation. So what does it mean? What's the difference? So what is the difference between if you have a round surface or more of a jaggedy surface? What do you think?
And even dispersion in the tissues?
So you're saying that polylactic acid is bad because if I
No, it's great.
okay. So
But maybe you cannot predict the stimulation effect when you are stimulating the skin with polylactic acid.
Good. Okay, I like that. So her answer is that with polylactic acid you are unable to predict the stimulation effect. I like to kind of change the way that she's talking and say that not that we cannot predict, because when we are injecting we can predict, but you get a much stronger formation of collagen in polylactic acid as compared to polycaprolactone and calcium hydroxylapatite because of the jagged effect. Okay? Because the jagged effect, because they're different angles, they will kind of stimulate the body to produce more collagen. Okay? Because soft, smooth surface, the immune system is unable to see it. It tends to hide into the tissue, those little soft surfaces. Okay? The other one, the polylactic acid, will provide you a much more robust reaction. Okay, because of how it tends to work. And this is how it kind of compares across all the different types of fillers that are out there. You have polylactic acid fillers here, polycaprolactone here, and also here. This is also polycaprolactone. And you also have other different types of materials that are out there. And you're able to see all the different effects, how they come off across. Okay? So, let's look at polylactic acid, for example. The effect here is that it has, first of all, it's quite long in terms of the way that it actually behaves. It's injected, it's able to stimulate your collagen. That's how it tends to work, as compared to the other different types of filler. People will say, hey, listen, what about polycaprolactone? It can last 4 years. No, polycaprolactone, especially Elon say that lasts for 4 years, it comes in different formulations. The classic one, which is the S, is actually very short. It only lasts about 1 year. Okay, the stronger one, which is I believe E, okay, can last for a long period of time, which is 4. Okay, because it comes pretty much in a coil formation. The longer the coil, the longer the fact that it lasts. Okay, but polylactic acid, as compared to the other types of filler, all of them are good biostimulatory agents. Okay. So that's how they tend to behave and how they compare with all the different types of filler. So let's look a little bit of a deep dive on polylactic acid. Polylactic acid, when it is normal circumstances, when a body tends to age, we know what happens to it. Production of HA tends to become less. Production of collagen tends to become less. We need to wake up the body. We need to wake up that fibroblast. How are we able to do this? Very simple. We're able to do this by injecting a foreign material, such as polylactic acid, a foreign material that we consider to be safe, because even though it is foreign, it is immunologically inert. When I say immunologically inert, it does not cause a delayed hypersensitivity reaction to our in our skin. It is not, the body does not want to get rid of it. All it needs to do is that it needs to kind of conform new collagen surrounding it, and then it stays very naturally in the area where it's supposed to stay. With time, polylactic acid starts to break down completely, and the only thing that tends to remain there is the actual collagen, which can last for about 2 years, okay? That's basically how it tends to work out in that sense. And so if you look at it in terms of days, if you are going to be injecting it, okay, the first thing in which you're going to be implanting it, you're bringing in all the macrophages starts coming in. The macrophages produces their cytokines, their interleukins, and that has an effect on fibroblasts to produce collagen. Okay, that's how it tends to work. This process can take up to 3 weeks, okay, which is very, very important because this just tells you, is polylactic acid a filler? No, absolutely not. And this is a very important thing that we have to tell our patients, because patients come in expecting themselves to be filled. They're not going to be filled with polylactic acid. Polylactic acid is a biostimulator. Okay, it stimulates your own collagen. If they come in, they wanted fillers, you can add fillers first, and you can also then add your polylactic acid to stimulate their collagen after. You can do it at the same time. I usually combine both at the same time. A patient comes to me, they have basically signs of aging, and they have, sunken cheeks, for example. Let me pick on somebody. Should I pick on somebody? Who should we pick on? I'm sorry, can I pick on you? You're very beautiful. I would like to pick on you. Can you come? What is your name?
Asta.
Aster? Asta. Where are you from?
From Lithuania.
From Lithuania? From Vilnius?
Yes.
Okay, very nice. I've been to Vilnius. It's a beautiful, beautiful city. It's very nice and very cute. So Asta, let's have you look over here. So if you look at Asta, for example, don't look at me, look at them. Okay, if you look at Asta, she's a very beautiful person. However, there are certain components of her face that I would consider to be deflated. I'm sorry if I'm saying something that's bad, okay? Okay, so if you look at, for example, her cheeks, it's a little bit low. She needs fillers to lift this area up. So I would need to inject fillers deep into this area over here to provide a convexity, okay? In addition, after I am done with my fillers, I need to also add a little bit of polylactic acid to provide tightening and a lifting effect. If I only inject her with fillers, such as an HA, what will tend to happen, she'll just look like a balloon. And I keep on doing it every time, it just becomes bigger, 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 okay? I need to add a biostimulator so that not only do we fill, we also provide a little bit of a lift, okay? If she comes to me, Asta, in my practice, and I tell her, oh, Asta, fillers are no more. We don't do fillers, we only do biostimulation right now. And I only injected her with a biostimulatory effect. After 3 days, what do you think will happen to her? Yes, exactly. She'll deflate, she'll call me. She says like, Dr. Galadari, I came to see you, I paid this much money, I don't see anything. This is not good results. You're a very bad doctor. I get really bad stuff on Google reviews. She'll go on Instagram, I'll be finished. I will no longer be able to practice potentially in Lithuania anymore. She ruined my Lithuanian market and my Lithuanian patients. So that's the reason why for patients such as her, I will have to combine, and you can do it at the same time, okay? So, or you would tell your patient, listen, Asta, I've injected you with fillers before. I need to kind of stimulate your collagen right now. I will inject you with something that you will not see the results now. You will see it after 3 to 4 weeks, and then come back and see me again. I will re-inject you again based on the amount of results that I'm seeing, okay? So there are 2 ways to do this. One way is to inform the patient that they will see the results after. None of the patients usually follow this advice, especially patients, for example, in the Middle East, they want to see results now. Or for those type of patients, you will combine an HA filling in addition to biostimulation. Okay, so you do that both at the same time. So she's able to see the effect of the filler, the round convexity, and at the same time, after 3 to 4 weeks, she'll slowly start to seeing the lifting capabilities. And the requirement of her HA after 9 months or 1 year when she comes and sees me will be much less. Is it clear? Yes.
With other brands,
Yeah, yes, Asta, you can sit.
After treatment, there was higher suggestion that you need to massage the skin quite,
Yes, quite a lot, yes.
So, what happened if we need to massage the area quite high, and there is also the filler?
That's a good question. Okay, so the question is that would you inject filler first or biostimulation first?
Yeah, this is
That's a question. Yeah, so I'll ask the crowd the question. So which one would you inject first, filler or biostimulation? Exactly, you do the biostimulation first, you do all the massaging, okay? After they're done, okay, then you can add your filler. You could do it at the same time. Sometimes people will tell you, oh, you know, if you do it at the same time, it can be masked because you're putting too much fluid. You're not seeing the results. Tell them, come back and see me after 3 or 4 days. Then you can inject them with a little bit of filler. So you could do that after 3 or 4 days. My patients, at least in the Middle East, they want treatments now. So what I tend to do is that I inject them with the polylactic acid. I will massage, make sure they're massaged. I wait for about maybe 20, 30 minutes. After that, I start injecting with their filler.
So with Infini, the patient don't need massage anymore at home, because with some brand,
Yeah, that's a good question.
to be also massaged.
Yeah, this whole 5 days, 5 times. Yeah, so not you know, for me, massaging the most important massage happens in the clinic. Okay, that's the most common the type of massage that needs to be done. I mean, I would not ask the patient to come back and see me after a week or so because they're never going to do that. And if it's injected correctly, they don't have to massage at home, in all honesty. Okay, so I usually tend to do all my massage in my clinic before they leave. Any other questions? That was a good question. Yes. Co- Side effects? We will. It'll come. It'll come to it. Yeah. An inflammatory response, definitely, for sure. Okay. Well, we mentioned a little bit on the mod. You saw the mod that polylactic acid can lead to complications. And the major complications that it leads is either an inflammatory response or nodule formations. The nice thing is that you've never seen a complication with polylactic acid that led to blindness. Not yet. Okay, so at least not published. Okay, so blindness, say for example, or vascular compromise is not something that's commonly seen with polylactic acid compared to, for example, HA. Okay, but most of the complications that tend to happen with polylactic acid is either nodule formation, or at the same time, they're either due to the effect of inflammatory response. And the reason why they tend to occur is not because of the material, it's the actual injection technique. It's the technique that's caused that to happen. If you're putting too much at the same location without the proper massage, say for example, to spread it out, or if you're putting the material, I usually put in about 10 ml. That's how I combine it. If you're putting much less than that and it becomes much more concentrated, then you can develop more complications as compared to the others. Polylactic acid, now everybody thinks polylactic acid is new. Polylactic acid is very old. I have used polylactic acid since I was a first-year resident in 2004, okay, when I was in the US, okay? That's when I first started using polylactic acid. The problem is that every patient we injected then had problems, because at that stage, what they were telling us is that they were telling us, oh, you need to put in about maybe 5 ml of material before injecting. We found that 5 ml is very, very low and causes a concentrated, basically, material, substance, or solution that if it's injected, it can lead to complications such as nodules. That's the reason why the teaching right now is that we hyper-dilute it. Okay, so when we say hyper-diluted, we dilute it with either 10 or sometimes even above. The more you dilute, the less the chance of you developing complications. Is that clear? Yeah. Good. So remember, the more you dilute, the less chances for you to have any problems with polylactic acid. Okay? Yes, sir. That's a very good question. So his question is that I'm going to translate his question. Where are you from? Where are you from then? I know, but you said you're not Spanish. Okay, all right. So I'm going to translate what he said to the crowd. He was saying that rather than just putting in saline, okay, why can't we mix it with other material? Okay, but when we mix it with other material, we create this hybrid molecule or hybrid solution that will make it last a little bit longer, maybe optimize it. Okay, and the answer is that's what we tend to do, and that's exactly what I've done with my solution right now. The nice thing about the Infini product is that I have my V10, which is my polylactic acid. I will put in a little bit of saline, and then I put a little bit of V1, okay, which is your solution with your HA. Okay, you put it together, you mix them together, you create this hybrid solution, and interesting enough, it has a much better new collagenesis effect than just simple saline. This has also been translated also in the work of calcium hydroxylapatite. And I'll show you, because we learned this from calcium hydroxylapatite. Calcium hydroxylapatite, if it's diluted just with saline, the effect of calcium hydroxylapatite as a biostimulator up to a certain amount of saline that's injected is different than if you inject calcium hydroxylapatite mixed with a mixture, for example, that contains hyaluronic acid. That mixture makes the calcium hydroxylapatite last a little bit longer, and that's been published. So we've just translated that, and we've utilized it also for our polylactic acid, and it works as equally as well. Okay? And with this, with the Infini products, the nice thing is that you can do that. They have the V1 or the V2. I use V1, or at least in this case over here, I've used V1 to combine that, and I'll show you how I tend to do that. But that's a good question. Combination, not just with saline, but also with an HA meso cocktail. Any other questions? Excuse me? What ratio? Okay. Good question. So I use 5 normal saline, 5 ml normal saline, 3 ml V1, and then I will put in 2 ml of my lidocaine. Okay, so it's a total of 10. Okay, but that's the ratio that you tend to use. Okay? Technically, you can also put the whole thing as, V1. But if you do that, that creates quite a thick product. Okay, and I don't want to do that. You want to soften it up a little bit. So that's the reason why I still use a little bit of normal saline. 5-3-1. No, 5-3-2. Yeah, 5-3-2. Okay? Because it's quite painful. Yes, yeah, they need it. It's quite. You'll see. Have you ever had polylactic acid injected?
Yes.
You have? You were not pain. You were not.
No, but I wasn't using Sumi.
Uh huh.
It was like 10% enough.
Okay.
1 ml, maybe.
I like my patients to feel no pain, so I would put 2 ml. That's completely fine. Okay, so the question is that why 2? Okay, is that because it's quite painful if it's just injected in its pure form? Remember, we used to use sterile water or water for injection, which was even more painful. Okay, so that's the reason why I still stuck to the utilization of 2 ml of lidocaine. Some people use less, but my cocktail, at least, my combination is 5-3-2. Yes?
Does it mean that we could use it for 2 patients, 1 glass, or
Yeah, you'll have a solution of 10 ml.
10?
Yeah, so the 10 ml, you can utilize it for whatever patients. You could either do it 5 ml here, 5 ml there. If a patient wants a little bit less, my recommendation is not to store it. If it's done, you have to utilize it as soon as possible.
Okay, so we cannot keep it for 1 day or 2 days?
I tend not to. No, I tend not to, yeah. So the question is that do you store it? I tend not to. If it's done for that patient, if it's fresh, especially if I started putting the lidocaine inside, I have to utilize it as soon as possible. Yes?
Are there any publications for PLA and hyaluronic acid mixtures injected?
No, unfortunately not. We took that idea from calcium hydroxylapatite because that's been published. Okay, so, and we said if it works for calcium hydroxylapatite, which is a thick molecule, thick material, it will probably work with this one. And anecdotally, it works. We're just waiting for publications to happen. Okay? Yes? Do I use a product for the neck? Okay, so I may look young, okay, and I may look like a person who does a lot of crazy stuff. I tend to avoid injecting the neck. Okay? The issue with the neck is that the skin is very, very thin. If too much is injected, you can cause problems. If you are going to be injecting the neck, my recommendation is to even hyperdilute it further. So rather than having it with 10 ml, maybe add a little bit, maybe 2 or 5 ml extra to make it even more soft for the neck. Personally, I would not do it for the neck. Some people have, I don't. Yes? Yeah, it's cooking right now. Yeah, so that's a good question. So technically speaking, polylactic acid, for it to be absorbed, into the actual powder, okay, you have to let it cook for at least 24 to 48 hours. That's the original teaching, okay? But now they can say that, you can let it stay for about 3 hours. But you want to make sure that if you are going to let it marinate, I call it marination, so if you're going to let it marinate, just make sure that you mix it well. And here I'm using a vortex, so I'm using a little bit of a centrifuge machine. It's right over there. Do you guys shake it? Do you shake it with your hands? You guys shake it with your hands? My recommendation is not to do that. I mean, I would speak to Anna. So she has to hook you up with this vortex machine. It is unbelievable. Okay, and I've just done it today, and I've taken pictures of before and afters. I put them on my Instagram of me shaking it and me using the vortex machine, and you can see the differences between. No matter how much you shake, you will still have a little bit of particulates. But if you use the vortex machine, it's very much homogeneous. And the vortex machine is right over there. So when we take the break, you can come in and you can just basically take a look at it. Okay, so that's the vortex machine. All it does is just simply kind of moves it. It's phenomenal. For me, it's a game changer. Where are you? Where are you? Oh, you're here. Okay. So the question is that you can connect it with a female-to-female connector and you can go back and forth, right? You could do that, but you have to do it a lot. You can. But still, the minute you put it inside the vial, it will still clump up a little bit. So my recommendation is to use the vortex. If you then want to go back and forth, you can. But in all honesty, I've been using polylactic acid for years. I've never seen a homogeneous solution unless you make it wait for 48 hours, just sitting down, or you use this vortex machine, which makes it go away within 2 minutes. There was a question? Where's he going? Where are you going? Hello? Okay. Later on, man. What's he doing? Did he steal a vial? All right. Okay. All right, okay. Yes, it does, yes. Okay. All right, thank you. That was interesting. All right, so any other questions? This is really good. Yes?
So, what's the difference between mixing it with saline and sterile? Just metal, or is it?
Yes, so technically you can use sterile. The old teaching was using sterile water. Okay, sterile water for me at least was extremely painful. Even if you put a little bit of lidocaine, patients will still feel a little bit of pain. Okay, I asked if normal saline can be used, and they said normal saline can be used. So normal saline, because it's an isotope. Dude, man, you have to go back and sit down. What's going on? What is it? Okay. So, because it's isotonic. All right, well, thank you for ruining the flow. People are asking questions. So because it's isotonic, it causes less pain for the patients. Okay, so it's much more comfortable using normal saline. Okay? All right. All right, let's try to finish this. Okay, and we'll keep the questions for a little bit later on. All right, so that's how polylactic acid tends to work. If it's injected, it stimulates your fibroblast. This is how it tends to look like as compared to polycaprolactone and polydioxanone. Okay, and you can see here that the effect of polylactic acid is sustainable across many, many weeks. Calcium hydroxylapatite looks a little bit different. So this is calcium hydroxylapatite, and you're able to see that calcium hydroxylapatite does produce collagen, and that is sustained for up to about 72 weeks. So it's about a year and a half in which you can actually see collagen that's produced. And here, calcium hydroxylapatite, once it causes a stimulation, for example, you can see that there's thickness that tends to happen in the actual dermis. Okay. And it has been published. This is a publication that we looked at and we're talking about in terms of dilution of calcium hydroxylapatite and hyperdilution. Okay? Skin priming is to answer somebody else's question to the person. What is your name, by the way, Mr. Beard? What's your name? Fernando? Okay, Fernando. So Fernando, okay, was talking about whether it's, whether you can mix it with something else. And this is the publication that came out when it came to skin priming. Okay, skin priming just simply means rather than using saline to hyperdilute your material, which is calcium hydroxylapatite in this publication, you can actually use other products. And in this case over here, HA was utilized. How is it injected? This is basically how it is injected. You come in with your cannula. I would tend to use a cannula over anything else. You come in and you are quite superficial when it comes to injection because the area in which you would inject is going to be superficial, so the superficial location. Okay, I will inject the cheeks. I will inject a little bit lower towards the jawline. You can also put a little bit on the temples. I tend to avoid certain areas in which there's soft tissue. For example, soft skin, such as the neck, I tend not to inject. Okay, also the areas around the eyes also tend not to inject. I'd rather stick to something that I can dissolve. For example, if I wanted to use HA, I would use it for the T troughs. If I wanted to use on the neck, I can also utilize an HA over there. So that's basically how it is when it comes to injecting. All right, this is how it tends to look like. This is the combination of calcium hydroxylapatite with that meso stuff. This is the skin primer. This is all part of the publication. And this is a little bit of a video of the production of collagen that it tends to produce. And this is the effect on ultrasound. You can see that the dermis is quite thick. This is all based on those studies. And hence the reason why now we, rather than just putting normal saline with our polylactic acid, based on this publication, we can also add a little, our HA and other materials. Hyaluronic acid, as we mentioned earlier, okay, can actually lead to biostimulation through many different ways. The first is that the effect on fibroblasts is that the HA causes a stretching of the fibroblast. When the fibroblasts are mechanically stretched, they're producing then their collagen. In addition, the size of the actual hyaluronic acid tends to play a role. Okay, this is your HA. There was a publication, yes, you asked me about a publication of HA. This is the publication of HA and how it causes biostimulation. And as you can see here, repeated utilization of HA can also cause thickening of the dermis. However, the thickening of the dermis can only last for about 3 months. Okay? So if you are going to be utilizing HA as a biostimulation, it's mainly going to last for about 3 months for your patients. Okay? So in conclusions, PLLA induces collagen. Okay? It is not a filler. It does not cause volumization. Polycaprolactone induces collagen and at the same time acts as a filler. Calcium hydroxylapatite produces collagen. However, in 1 month, 50% of the effect is gone, okay? Because remember, it comes in mixed together with carboxymethylcellulose, and that usually tends to go away after a month. HA enhances both epidermal thickness and dermal thickness. However, it only lasts for 3 months, as I mentioned, okay? And finally, to end it all, this is basically how the fillers, or basically the biostimulatory agents that are produced by Infini. You have the V5, okay, which is basically your 70 milligrams of HA, and in addition to peptide. You have your V10, which is your polylactic acid. This is, for me, the biostimulator is this one over here. It's your PLLA. You also have your V20, which is really your thick type of filler. Look at this. It's 1,500 kilodalton in size, okay? So not only does it stimulate the collagen, but it actually has a structural capabilities, okay? So that's your V20. Okay. Finally, I just wanted to finish up with botulinum toxin, and the question is that does botulinum toxin cause biostimulation? No? Everyone know? Nobody knows, huh? Okay. All publications that looked at botulinum toxin, this is for you, my friend. All publications that looked at botulinum toxin saw that botulinum toxin does not cause biostimulation. However, it causes better organization of the collagen fibers. Because the collagen fibers are better organized, they look like they're stimulated, but they're not really stimulated. Okay, but they're better organized. That's the reason why if you put botulinum toxin on the forehead, the person's forehead appears shiny. Okay, yes, because the collagen fibers are organized better, but it does not produce new collagen. All the different publications looked at that there is no production of any, whether it's type 1, 2, or 3 collagen, none is being produced. All that tends to happen is that you have a wrinkle, which is basically here deep. Then after that, the wrinkle becomes wider because it becomes less. And you can see here the organization of the collagen fibers become much more organized. And hence the reason why it seems that it's biostimulated, but it's not really biostimulated, okay? As you can see here, type 1 or type 3 collagen does not change across the board. Even elastin fibers don't change with botulinum toxin. All right? So, in conclusion, and we're going to conclude right now, in conclusion, for you to get biostimulation, you really have to combine all the different aspects of things, whether it's going to be skincare, applications of creams, such as, for example, retinol, sunscreen, okay, is very important for biostimulation. Then, followed by chemical peels and energy-based devices, injectables, and you have different injectables across all the different areas in which you are going to be injecting all the different layers, and also other energy-based devices. All of this can preclude to the formation of surgical treatments to provide biostimulation. Okay? This is what we are able to kind of conform to get the best results for our patients. And I'm hoping that with this very much comprehensive presentation, we looked at the materials that we are able to utilize, how they're able to function, and their physical properties once they're injected into the skin for them to get the best results for our patients. And with this, I'd like to thank you so much for your kind attention. I know you probably have more questions, and we'll answer all of them. Okay? So if you have any questions, please ask me. Let's talk a little bit more amongst ourselves. I don't know, Anna's right here. And we are going to meet at what time for our... We're going to have lunch for an hour, and then we'll meet in 1 hour for the good stuff of injections. Thank you so much for your kind attention. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you guys had a good lunch. Now we're back again to the nice business of injecting. So we have a very beautiful young lady here, Marika, who is 35 years of age, who's coming in, and this is your classic example. I told you in the 30s, this is the type of patient that's going to come in and see you. So you're going to come in and see her. The first important thing that you need to do is that you need to assess the patient. And the assessment of the patient is always either lying down like this or basically having her sit up. So I'm going to ask you to sit up for me, Marika. Just up.
Yeah.
Yes, there you go. If you can just zoom in. Perfect. There you go. Zoom out a little bit. Perfect. So let's look at Marika's face. Okay, so she's got a beautiful face. Okay, she's had a few things injected in the past. What we're going to be doing is that she comes to me saying that, Doctor, I love the way that I look, but I want to maintain it. I still want to look pretty good. So I want you to kind of make sure that I actually look good for a long period of time. So I told her, like, Marika, this is what we're going to be doing. What we're going to be doing is that we're going to be enhancing what we're seeing in you. So what we're going to be doing is that I'm going to start off with a combination treatment that is going to consist of both polyalactic acid in addition to a little bit of hyaluronic acid. Now, the polyalactic acid, of course, is going to take time for it to work. So we're going to be injecting it first, and then we're going to massage her, as we mentioned, and then we're going to go and start injecting the HA. Now, everybody knows something known as the line of ligament. You guys heard of the line of ligament? Have you guys heard of the line of ligament or no? Sure? Who said that? Where is it? You? Where are you from? Macedonia. Macedonia. Okay. Yeah, all right. So All right, let me remind people who have not heard of the line of ligament, okay, which it is a line that simply, it's an imaginary line, by the way, that connects pretty much the temporal adhesion lines here, which is right over here. I apologize, I know you're going to have to clean her up back again, okay? Not now, later, after when we do, okay? So it connects this part over here, in addition to the zygomatic ligament. And the zygomatic ligament, you're able to see, don't smile, no smiling. So you're able to see the zygomatic ligament connected. So this is basically the orbital retaining ligament, which is right over here, that continues going upwards this way. And then she has a zygomatic ligament kind of moving a little bit more downwards. And you're able to see it as a depression. So the zygomatic ligament is right over there. So that's basically your zygomatic ligament. Finally ends up with the mandibular ligament. People are going to ask, what is the mandibular ligament? And where can we see it? The mandibular ligament, if you turn this way, and you pinch the chin and also the jowls, you do it this way, that little crease that you're seeing right over here, that's your mandibular ligament. So this line pretty much connects this part over here, going all the way down, going all the way even further down, and that's basically what we consider to be the line of ligament. What color is this? It's like long-lasting eyeliner. Kiko Milano. Okay. All right, so that's basically the line of ligament. Any injection here is going to create a lifting effect. So this will lift up, okay? Any connection here, basically, any injection here is going to create a little bit more volume, okay? What do you have here? What color is this now? White? Blanco? Because this is not Blanco, this is like, this is like silver. Yeah, so any injection here is pretty much going to create a little bit of volume. Turn this way. Perfect. So we have here, this will create a little bit of a lift, and we have here to create a little bit of volume. Now, for you to get the best results with your polyalactic acid, as I mentioned, it is not a filler. It is not a volumizer. So if you inject it here, you're not really going to get the best results with it. This part over here, if you want to volumize, it is much better to use an HA. Now, does that mean that we don't inject polyalactic acid? You could. If the skin is thin, you wanted biostimulation, you could definitely add a little bit of polyalactic acid into this area over here. But to get the best and maximum results, most of it should be injected a little bit more on the lateral side to provide a little bit of a lift. So what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be injecting polyalactic acid here onto the areas of the temple and areas of the cheeks, going all the way down towards the masseters. That's where we're going to be injecting her polyalactic acid. And we're slowly also going to inject very superficially into the area that is found here into the mid-cheeks. Okay, so that's basically the areas that I'm going to be injecting my polyalactic acid. This part and this part. I will try to avoid areas of high mobility. I want to try to not inject the areas of high mobilities. The high mobility areas will include the area around the mouth, which are the lips, okay, and also the areas around the chin. This part over here, if I wanted to enhance it, I'd rather use an HA, a very thick HA to provide a little bit of material there. So that would be my recommendation, okay? Now, some people will tell you, oh, I use polyalactic acid on the forehead, on the teeth troughs. You could. I'm not saying you can't, but to be safe, and if you're just starting polyalactic acid, the safest area where you cannot do any wrong is to inject it into the areas that I actually mentioned. Because you have good coverage of normal skin, okay, which is normal thick skin, and at the same time, you're not going to cause any formation of nodules, okay? Because remember, this part over here is mobile. This part is also mobile. That mobility can make the filler clump together sometimes and can cause nodularity, and you want to try to avoid doing that for your patients. So this is the safest area which you're going to be doing. So polyalactic acid is going to come first, and then I'm going to add a little bit more volume, and I've drawn up a little bit of my HA, and I'm going to be using L plus to provide a little bit of volume, so we'll do that a little bit over here. And then I'm going to start using a softer filler, a softer HA, which is the M, that I'm going to be doing onto the nasolabial folds, which she has over here, that goes all the way downwards. The exact same filler I can also inject towards the mental crease that we're seeing onto the sides over there. Okay. Now the levels of injection. You have to understand the anatomical aspects. Everybody's going to say anatomy is important. Anatomy is important if you are going to try to avoid injecting certain parts of the face, okay, that will cause complications. Remember, here The only place where you are afraid of causing issues will include, or we're talking about vascular problems, are the following. The first one is the superficial temporal artery. The superficial temporal artery, I can actually see in her. Turn this way. It's right over here. What is this? Here. So, there's no red? No, there's no red. No red is fine. Okay, so the superficial temporal artery, which is right over here, you can see it. It goes all the way this way, and it's coming downward. So that's where her superficial temporal artery is going to be. I can visualize it. I can see it. And she has the exact same thing onto the other side. So here, you want to try to make sure that you avoid injecting the superficial temporal artery, which you can. The superficial temporal artery, if you look at all the different layers of the temples, actually exists in layer number 4, which is basically the interfascial layer. Okay? If you are going to be injecting coming down from here all the way up, you are going to be in layer 2, so you're much more superficial. You are subdermal. Okay, so you won't have any problems with this because the vessel is going to be underneath. Okay, so there won't be any problems there. Okay, the only problem that can happen is that if you're coming with an opening right over here and you're injecting using a needle or cannula to this area over here. But here, the injection has to be superficial. Polyalactic acid works best if it's injected superficially. When I say superficially, we're talking about subdermal. Okay? The more deep you go into the bones, for example, you're not going to see results. Okay? Because fibroblasts are actually more superficial. They're in the dermis. So you want to be as superficial as possible when it comes to injecting. And I say superficial, I don't mean intradermal. I mean just immediately subdermal. Okay? So that's your major vessel that you're afraid of over here. Now, the other vessel that you're afraid of is I want you to clench your teeth. You're like, oh. Okay. So okay, there's a little bit of the masseters. Right in front of okay, stop now. Right in front of the masseters is your facial artery. Okay, you can actually feel your facial artery by clenching your teeth. Right in front of the masseter, you see it, you're feeling the pulsation. The facial artery goes this way, gives off 2 different branches. One branch goes downward, the other branch goes upwards, and gives you what we know as the labial arteries. Okay, these are the 2 labial arteries, the inferior and the superior labial arteries. These vessels are very deep. They are very deep. This one here is actually on the bone. Okay? So the chances of you hitting it with a cannula is, I'm not going to say impossible, but it's going to be very difficult, okay, unless you go with the needle straight touching the bone. Okay, so this is going to be that sense over here. Also, the 2 labial arteries are also quite deep. Our injections are more lateral. So if you see it, I'm not injecting my polylactic acid towards the area of the mouth. I'm injecting it more lateral to the line of ligament. I am away from the major vessels that are found over here. So there won't be any problems or any issues here. The only vessel potentially that I may hit is going to be the facial artery. But the facial artery, as I mentioned, is deep. And I'm injecting polylactic acid superficially, meaning subdermal. Okay? That's good. The last but not least problem that we can have is the other vessel. Which other vessel is also found in this area that we have to avoid? Transverse fascial, okay, but which is even more important? The inferior, yes, the inferior orbital artery, okay? So that's the one that we really try to avoid, and it comes from the inferior orbital foramen. The inferior orbital artery is the following. So I want you to look up. Up. Look at my finger. Yes, like this. Okay, good. So the inferior orbital artery is, you feel the orbital rim, the mid-pupillary line, orbital rim, a little bit underneath the orbital rim, that's where the vessel is. Okay? The vessel is right over here. This vessel over here does not go like this. It does not open straight. It actually opens going downwards. Okay? So it means that even if you are going to be coming in at a 100-degree or 90-degree angle, going straight perpendicular to it, it won't cause any problems with your needle. Where is the problem? Now remember, I told you it opens down, so it means it goes down, and then it starts giving you branches. Okay? And then you have certain branches that go even up. So it goes downwards. The problem is that if I come with my cannula and I make an opening here, and my cannula goes this way, there is a chance for my cannula to hit the vessel there. Okay, so you have to be very careful with this. Also, if I make an opening, for example, of my cannula here, if I wanted to inject this part, there's also a chance if my cannula moves this way, it can also get into the inferior orbital foramen and inferior orbital artery. Okay? So, that's the whole thing. Areas to avoid: superficial temple, facial, and also the inferior orbital. Now, the question is that which part, I'm going to ask you, which part do you think of her face is the safest area in which I would like to inject, or would you want to inject? Where? Zygomatic area? Exactly. So the zygomatic area, which is, you have a whole zygomatic area which is right over here. The zygomatic area provides you access to going down. Let's change the color. The black? Dark blue? Okay. All right. This one beautiful, huh? There's black? Where's the black? Emanuela, do you understand what black? No, so there's only blue. Oh, there was a black. Who took my eyeliner? All right, Kiko Milano eyeliner, I'm going to strip search you before anybody leaves the room so I can find my black eyeliner. All right, so the zygomatic area is the safest area. So the zygomatic area is this area over here. So this is the zygomatic bone. So if I draw a line over here, and I draw a line over here, that's basically pretty much your zygomatic area. This is the area in which you would want to be. Any point here is going to allow me to access the temples, will allow me to access this part over here, basically just in front of the masseters, or what we call the pre-auricular or the pre-mesenteric. And at the same time, I can also inject this part over here. So this is the zygomatic area, and that's the area of the injection. I'm very much far away from any of the vessels. If I'm injecting the temples, I'm going to be superficial, so in the superficial plane, hitting the superficial temporal artery is not going to happen. If I'm going to be coming down to inject this part over here, the facial artery is very deep. It's not going to happen. If I'm going to be injecting this part over here a little bit to the sides, and you have the inferior orbital foramen, if my access point is over here, remember the infraorbital foramen opens downwards. My cannula is straight. It's not going to go down and then turn around. It doesn't do that. So this area is actually quite safe. Now people are going to ask, what is the best way, or what is the best injection point? Listen, this is the best injection zone, but for you to remember like a good area to inject, it's very simple. What you need to do is that you find the lateral canthal line, which is basically right over here. This is the lateral canthal line. This is the lateral canthal line. The lateral orbital line, which is right over here, this is the lateral orbit. Okay, you can see the orbit. And just, you create a little bit of a line going downwards. And this point over here could be your injection point. Okay, just on the lateral orbit line. Okay, this is an imaginary line. You create your little opening, and you can inject this part, and this part with just one entry point. Okay? It's the easiest and the safest way in which you would be able to do things. Any questions? Perfect. Okay, now this masterpiece is going to have to be rubbed. Okay? All right, so yeah, we have to clean, I'm sorry. See, this is the problem. A woman cleans everything, and then the man comes in and just ruins it. Emanuela did a great job cleaning her face. Now I'm going to ask her to do it again because we've basically ruined it on this part. Good. Emanuela, the show is yours. If you can clean her again, thank you. Clean. Yeah, clean the hole. Any questions, guys? So we're going to be doing polyallactic acid first, okay, onto the lateral sides in the beginning, and then we're going to move a little bit more towards the medial. And I'm going to add fillers, especially in the mid-cheeks. I'm going to be using L. And then I'm also going to be adding a little bit onto the nasolabial folds, in which I'm going to be using M, okay? Because the nasolabial folds is a very mobile area. So I want to make sure that I use something that's a little bit more on the softer side. Okay, good. You okay? All right, perfect. Now people are going to ask, what am I going to be injecting with? So the polyallactic acid, the mixture that I came up with is the following. I've used, and this is what was done earlier, I've taken the V10, I've put in 5 ml of normal saline, 3 ml of V1, because V1 contains HA, okay, and other materials such as amino acids and so forth that will allow also for better hydration. And then 2 ml of lidocaine, okay? Total 10. Easiest way to divide is that you're going to be using 5 ml here, 5 ml there, okay? Do that first. Ask the patient to come back and see you in 4 to 6 weeks. If you need to add a little bit extra, you could do it then with another vial. I would highly recommend not to overdo it with 2 vials at the same time, okay? That would be my recommendation. I'm very conservative that way, okay? So that's how I would do my polylactic acid. People are asking me, because I was walking around and people are asking me, what about if people are allergic to lidocaine? People are allergic to lidocaine. I believe that this whole allergy to lidocaine is overblown out of proportion. People are, the allergy to lidocaine in publication in the literature is not really very much written about because it does not exist as people might say. You are probably more allergic to the epinephrine, if there is lidocaine with epinephrine, much more than you're actually with lidocaine. Lidocaine is an amide anesthetic. It's different than an ester. Ester will include procaine, tetracaine, cocaine, okay? These are your esters. And those esters can cause allergic reactions, okay? That's where the ones that are usually affected with. Benzocaine is also one of them. Lidocaine is an amide. Lidocaine, bupivacaine, mepivacaine are amide anesthetics that usually don't cause, basically allergic reactions because they're naturally occurring inside the body. So the chances of you developing any problems is very, very low. As I mentioned, the epinephrine is much more higher than you will cause any problems with. But that being said, if you're still hesitant about using lidocaine for whatever reason, even though I'm sure everybody have used lidocaine, if they've been to, for example, to a dentist to pull teeth or so forth, or maybe if a person who who got pregnant, okay, they've used probably also lidocaine or the amides for her, for her anesthesia. So that's a little bit different. But if you're afraid to use lidocaine, you can substitute your lidocaine with adding a little bit more normal saline. Or sometimes, if you want to change a little bit of the pH, you can also add a little bit of bicarbonate. Okay, the bicarb can also decrease a little bit of the pH that you may be afraid of. So it can cause a little bit less that effect. You can combine your rather than using normal saline, you can use bacteriostatic. Have you heard of bacteriostatic normal saline, or preservative normal saline? Bacteriostatic normal saline is such a mouthful. Bacteriostatic normal saline contains benzyl alcohol, and benzyl alcohol is a local anesthetic. Okay, so it can, it's a different type of saline. You have to order it, but it's called bacteriostatic or preservative, not preservative-free. It's preservative-added, normal saline. You have to order it to actually do that. All my patients that I inject botulinum toxin for, I usually use bacteriostatic normal saline. They don't feel any pain. There's no stinging, no pain whatsoever. Okay, so that would be my recommendation for you. Now, you could also use regular normal saline, it's fine. It may cause a little bit of a sting. That's why if you kind of combine a little bit of bicarbonate, it'll calm down a little bit of the pH, okay? Because, normal saline, even though it's isotonic, the pH is slightly acidic. It's about 5.5, okay? So patients might feel a little bit of a sting. Good. Are we ready? Good. Any questions? Good. Let me just change my gloves. Okay. Marika, I need you to come to relax and sleep. Yeah. No, this is fine. Yeah. You okay?
Yes, it's
Ready? Okay, great. Turn this way. Perfect. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So this is the process in which we're going to be doing. I've drawn 2 ml of my PLLA. It's much better to use 2 ml. So there's 2. If I'm drawing 2 ml, how many syringes of this? A total of 10 ml. How many syringes? 5. I'm glad people know math. Good. So I'm going to be using 2 ml, okay? It's much easier to inject with 2 ml. You can use a 5 ml syringe, but I find it becomes very difficult. The pushing is going to be very hard, and patients are going to start feeling it. And I'm going to be using a 22 gauge cannula. Okay, good. Savi, relax. You okay?
It's okay.
All right, perfect. So I told you about the line of ligament, basically the line of ligament. This is the lateral orbital rim, a line that's created over here. I create my little opening just over here, very superficially. Boop. And we're done. Any pain? You okay? Good. Come in. And then this is the plane that I'm on. Okay, so look at this, very superficial plane. I come in with my cannula towards the temples, and I slowly start to inject. I inject very, very slowly. Perfect. I've injected about 0.8 into the temples. Turn it around into the zygoma. I've also injected another 0.2 into the zygoma. That's a total of 1 ml. And then I'm going to put a little bit onto the actual cheeks. Let's see here. Perfect. Superficially. Any pain, by the way, Marika? Any pain?
Okay.
Pain? No.
No, sorry.
Dolor?
No, dolor.
No dolor? Okay, good, okay. Is pain the same? Dolor is the same in Italian? Dolore, like Spanish.
No, dolor.
No dolore. Okay, so that little mixture works. So I'm going to put a little bit more here. So that's about 1 ml. Perfect. Then I come out. Nice. Where's the cover?
Cover?
Here. Gauze. Yes. So with 1 injection point, same thing. I need some gauze. My hands, yeah, thank you. Hey, she healed very quickly. It's like Wolverine. There we go. Turn this way. Oops, sorry. Need some space. There we go. Turn this way. Thank you. Now I'm here. Add a little bit more volume. Always moving. This is the pre-masseters or the pre-auricular. No dolore?
No.
Good. Not even little? What's little in piccolo? Piccolo? Poco? No? Poco dolore or no?
Niente. No.
Wow, okay. All right. Any questions?
Delicato.
Good. Very nice.
Very soft, doctor.
So I've injected now a total of 4 ml. And I'm going to inject a very small amount, just 1 more ml here, and that's it. We're done. You okay? Just add a little bit on the cheek. So we've added here the premasseters in front into the warts with the jawline. I'm going to add a little bit on the buccal area. So this is the buccal area. And I put the least amount usually in the buccal area because the buccal area is going to cause, you use the buccal area to do this. Okay? So I don't want you to be overfilled into that area. The buccal area has to be a little bit more on the slim. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add a little bit more, just 1 ml there, and that's it. And I always add it as I move. So as you can see here, my needle is always moving. My cannula, sorry, is always moving. I highly recommend using a cannula over a needle. If you want to use a needle, you can, but then that you always have to make sure that you're moving as you're injecting. That's about 1 ml. And here, I will stop, connect, and that's it. And then, you need to massage. All you need to do is massage. Just keep on massaging. I want you to sit up. And let's look at the mirror. Oh, so what? Look at the mirror. I mean, look at the camera. Yeah. All right. So you're able to see the difference between on the two sides. Just immediate difference. Smile. There we go. Perfect. So you're able to see the changes that are happening here. Able to see changes that are. See here, there's a little bit of a depression, and you're able to see a little bit of the changes. Now remember, a lot of it is volume. It will all settle down. Okay. So it's very, very important for me now is to massage. So I'm going to ask you to go back, okay? And my lovely assistant is going to massage this area very, very well. Yeah, it's much better to put on cream, yes. And so before we do the other side, it's going to be a lot of massaging. Any questions?
And what amount of one side? 5 minutes?
5. Yeah, so I use the whole vial. Vial has 10 ml. 5 on one side, 5 on the other side. 1 injection point that will affect the temples, the zygoma, a little bit of the mid-cheeks, downwards towards the premasseteric, preauricular, and also the buccal. This area is very, very safe. Not vascular, so the chances of you causing any vascular problems are very low. Okay? And at the same time, it will provide the most lifting effect. It's the easiest injection. People talk about polylactic acid being something that's very difficult. Actually, it is easy. If you inject it this way, it is extremely easy, and you have really very good results. Yes?
Do you inject in nasolabials?
That's a good question. So the question is, do you inject the nasolabials? People have injected the nasolabials. You can. Okay? You can safely do it. Okay? My recommendation is that don't inject too much. Okay? The areas around the mouth, you don't want to inject too much of it, but you can. You can definitely. Some people have also injected the tear troughs, but that's a little bit more, advanced. Okay, so I would, if you want to start off first, this is the easiest way to do it and the safest. You should never have any problems with this because you're deep, you're safe, and at the same time you will get good results. Any questions? Good. Lovely, I like it. Look. Yes, up. Yeah, more massage. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to finish one side and then I'm going to continue on doing the other side. So this way you'll be able to compare between one side as compared to the other side. Okay, so now what we're going to do is that after she's going to finish massaging, I'm going to come back again. This time I'm going to add a little bit of HA. And you'll see the layer of HA that I'm going to be injecting is slightly deeper than the actual polylactic acid. Polylactic acid, as I mentioned, has to be superficial. The one that I'm going to be injecting is going to be a little more on the deeper side. So this is what we're going to be doing now. Yeah. Yes. Acido hyaluronico. Right? All right, so this is L. All right, so I've switched now, so I'm going to be coming more on the medial side. I'm going to add a little bit more volume. So I'm going to be using an HA. I'm going to use the HA pretty much for the cheeks. And here I will use the L. Okay, L is a volumizing filler. Okay, it will provide me good volume for the cheeks, and that's what we're going to be doing with her right now. So we're going to be putting a very small amount just towards the mid-cheek area after my massage is done. Yes? Carla. Why, what? What? Why L, not XL? All right, so it's like, okay, why L, XL? Okay, I mean, like, Excel is like Microsoft Excel. I was like, that's scary. So why L, not XL? L for me is a good volumizer, okay? XL is a very good structural. So if I wanted structure, for example, I like to use the XL more on the jawline. Here, the chin. With this one? It's going to be in the, not the deep compartments. It's going to be the superficial fat compartments. Okay? Because if you look at her face, she's got a very nice cheeks. Just add a little bit more. Okay? So the difference between L and XL, XL is slightly more firm, behaves very similar to that of bone. So it works much nicer in the jawline area. L is a good volumizer. Okay? So it really spreads out nicely. Okay? L can be injected both in the deep and the superficial fat compartments. If you're going to inject the superficial fat compartments, just make sure that you don't inject too much. Don't over-volumize so it doesn't drag down. You were going to ask something? Can you define the jawline with polylactic? That's a good question. It will revitalize the jawline, but it doesn't provide definition. Okay, so it won't give you a defined jawline, but it will provide a lift effect. The lift effect happens by pulling the area up. So indirectly, it defines the jawline, but it's not actually the injection in the jawline that's actually defined. Okay? That's a good question, too. All right, ready to go? Yeah, very nice, yeah. Yeah, I love it. You look good. Okay. Fantastico. All right. So now I'm coming towards, oh, this is nice. You can see the difference also between the nasolabial folds that we're saying. So I'm coming in, I'm going to be doing the cheeks. Technically speaking, see this point here is very much lateral, so I can't reach the cheeks here. I switch to another point. The other point, also very safe, very easy. The lateral canthal line, this is the lateral canthus of the eyes. Feel the orbital rim, 1 to 2 centimeters underneath is your point. You create a little bit of opening like this, boop, and then you come out like that. And that's the point right over here. Okay? So the first point is lateral orbital line, which is lateral. Lateral canthal line is a little bit more medial. Okay? And that's the area in which you would inject. If you're going to ask me, is she feeling any pain? She shouldn't. Why? Because remember, I injected polylactic acid first. That contains what? Lidocaine, exactly. So now that I'm coming back and I'm injecting the HA, when I create that point, she didn't feel it. From 1 to 10, what was the pain? Now, 1 to 10. No. Is there any pain or no pain? Dolore. Is it 0 or 1? Or duso? No dolor. Okay, so no dolor. Language. Good. So that's the whole point. Good.
In Italy, mani d'oro.
Mani d'oro. Okay. Dr. Mani d'oro. Allora. So the question is, so now you know the reason why we did the polylactic first. There's always a reason why we're doing this. Is that because the step-by-step fashion, we've already injected a little bit of lidocaine. Good.
So now you're using L or L+?
L plus.
Why? Because she doesn't.
Use L. It's fine. If you like, I have L plus. For me, it's the same.
Open eyes if you want.
Open eyes is better.
Okay.
Yeah. So I come in, I pinch the cheeks. Hey guys, so I'm pinching the cheeks. There we go, slowly, slowly. Perfect. You okay? Good, perfect. Ready? Pronto?
Yeah.
Good. Now I add my filler into the mid cheeks here. This will affect also the T-troughs. If you look at the T-troughs, which is the depression right here, it's going to get a little bit better. It's mucho naturale.
No, ma lui è meraviglioso, il dottore, veramente.
So I've injected 0.4, and the last injection, remember we've added a little bit of polylactic acid here that is superficial. I'm going to turn this around, and I'm going to add a little bit on the zygoma, however there's going to be underneath the zygoma to provide a little bit of a structure. Turn my way, thank you. Perfect. Come down. And then the zygoma. Relax, relax. So that's a total of 0.5 that we injected. Good. Where is she? Okay, all right, we still have time. We have plenty of time. You guys are stuck with me till 5:30, so we have plenty of time. And now you can see the differences between the two sides. Look at that. Really fantastic results. Look at yourself, and I'm going to ask you to sit up so that people can look at you. Yeah. Marika, can you sit up? Sit. Look at the camera. There we go. Look at that. She's looking fantastic. Absolutely. That's the whole point. So natural. Look at that. Very beautiful. Very natural. I want you to relax. I want you to go to back. Okay? The last thing that I don't like is her nasolabial folds. So I put a very small amount in the nasolabial folds to make it a little bit less. Okay? So I switched to using another HA. So now I'm using M. Okay? M is nice because you can inject it quite superficial. And think about M as the mobile. M mobile. Okay? And it's something that you can inject superficially to get great results, especially for mobile areas, especially in the areas around the mouth, in addition to the lips if you wanted to inject her lips. So I would come in with my insertion needle. Relax. Turn this way. This is the area in which I want to inject. I'm going to go a little bit lower, so I'm going to inject right over here. Here, if you guys heard of the modiolus is about a thumbprint away. This part over here, right here is your facial artery, or the branches of the facial artery that divides into the labial and the superior labial and inferior labial. It's about a thumbprint away. It's right over here. I'm going to be more medial, and I'm going to be very superficial. Look at this, very superficial. Just a little bit of a prick. Come out. Put my opening inside. Turn this way. Good. And this is how superficial I am. I will only inject as I move, okay? I never inject in a line. So what I'm doing is that first of all, I'm not injecting, I'm just moving to free the tissue. It's like subcision. I'm freeing the tissue first. After I'm done with my subcision, so basically just me releasing the tissue, now I'm going to start injecting. Now I'm injecting. I'm injecting very, very slowly, very superficially across the nasolabial folds. It's superficial. Here, the angular artery you're not afraid of because the angular artery is going to be quite deep. Here, the angular artery could be superficial, but I am using a cannula, so it won't cause any problems. So I'm injecting it superficially, and I'm spreading it across. I come in, I've injected about 0.3. Now I'm going to turn around. I'm also going to inject a little bit just underneath where the oral commissures are to provide a little bit of a lift for her lips. There we go. So I'm right here on the lips, and I inject a small amount over there too. This will provide a little bit of a lift for the corner of her mouth. How are you?
I'm fine.
Fine? Nice. Okay, great. You can see the difference between the two sides. I'm going to ask you to sit up again. Sit. How are you? Good? Can you put the camera, put this down so that people can see you? No, look at that. All right. Smile. Lovely. Don't smile. Perfect. She still has the nasolabial folds. I want that. You have to have nasolabial folds. If you completely remove it, it doesn't look natural. But her nasolabial folds now look very much soft, and that's exactly what we're trying to do. Very soft. Very nice. Turn this way. Turn down. Perfect. Excellent. Any question? Good. The only thing that I would want to add, I want you to relax now. Yeah. It's okay, I have the same point. So guys, the only thing that I wanted to add, I want you to sit up again. Sit.
Yeah.
Perfect. I'm going to inject you while you're sitting like this. Okay. So if you turn this way, down. Perfect. So the same opening that we created for the mid-cheeks over here, if we're able to access it again, can you clean this area? Where's the point? Here. You okay?
Yeah.
Good. Turn this way. I'm in the T troughs. I want you to turn down. Yes, perfect. Look and open your eyes. Good. Stay like this. And here I've changed to using S. This is a soft filler for the T troughs. Only 0.2. That's it. 0.2, just on the T troughs. Look at yourself in the mirror. Here. Done. I can't hear you. This is so, it is so I've injected the T troughs. So for the T troughs, I'm usually submuscular. I'm underneath the orbicularis oculi. Okay, so underneath the orbicularis. Okay, that's how it is. That's the injection. You like it?
Yeah.
Finish. We're done. Next year when I come back, we do the other side. Okay. No, not tomorrow. Next year. Yeah. Now take selfie only here. Selfie. Only this side. Okay. Any question, guys? Because we're going to do now the exact same thing onto the other side. Any questions? No? You guys are happy? So what did we use? Polylactic acid on the lateral side. Then L, M, and S. Okay? L for the cheeks. M for the Nasolabial folds. S for the T troughs. Perfect. Yes.
So because you are actually extending her side, as in stretching the skin with volume, and the volume will go away,
Yeah.
but then it will rebuild up the same.
It will be tight. It won't be volume. It'll just be tight. Yeah. It'll just be tight. It's not. So if you pinch her skin, it'll be tighter. It will not add volume. So no, it's not. You know, it's not going to be like this. It's not volume side. Yes. Yes, sir. Where are you? You. Okay. A few questions. Oh, you guys are problems, man. What happened here? You guys are a problem, you people from Macedonia. You have lots of questions. No, not at all. I think, you know, the problems of you, if I tell you, is a problem. It'll cause a bruise. Only a bruise. What? Occlusion? First of all, there are no major vessels where you're injecting. This is very far away. Not really. If you're superficial, if you're doing that way, there is a chance if you're not using a cannula. If you're using a needle, yes. There is a high chance for you doing it with a needle. But with a cannula, no chance. Yeah. Okay? Oh. Oh. Yes. I will only use, for example, a needle if I'm doing the lips. Sometimes I use needles for the lips. Sometimes I use needles for the gunshot technique if I'm injecting the temples in the gunshot technique. These are the only two places I would use needles. But about what? Piriform fossa? Yes, then you would need to use a needle there. But you have to go very deep with the needle. Yeah. Yes, sir. Very tiny. It's too swollen or too much. Yes. Yeah. So the T troughs is a little tricky. You can, but then at the same time you get that you can't get that correction. Sometimes you still have a little bit of a depression. If you're still on the deep. Deep is safe. You're very safe. Sometimes you have to be a little bit superficial but submuscular to get a little bit more of a softening effect. And you put a small amount. If you start putting more than 0.1, that's superficial, there's a high chance that it will absorb fluid. So the total that we injected on the T troughs for her is simply 0.15. Nothing. It's just like you saw it. It's just very, very small amount just to kind of even things out for her. That's it. Any other questions? Yes, sir. 5 ml polylactic acid, 0.5 of L, 0.5 of S, 0.15, 0.15 of M, 0.5 of M, 0.15 of S. Okay? No, there's no V5 and 10. These are fillers, so they're regular fillers. The V5 and V10, you can add them after you're done. So for example, if you're done now, and you're happy with the results, she's okay, now you can start introducing your V5 or your V10 now. Yes, don't mix them. You don't have to mix them. Okay? Now that we're done, if you want to add more, for example, if you want to revitalize the skin by adding, your biostimulatory fillers that are HA, you can do that now. Okay? And then we'll do that after we're done. But you can do the V5 and V10 now if you want to do it on that side. Okay? Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's V20 and the V5. Yeah, they're mixing me up. It's like V10 of polylactic, yeah. S? Guys, I can't hear the question. I need to hear the question so I can answer it.
I have a microphone.
Oh, you have a mic? Okay.
Yes.
Looks really nice. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Go ahead and ask me, please.
Yeah. Dr. Tolunay Zeybekler from Turkey. what is your clinical practice habit about Infini S? For the fine lines, injection for the periorbital area in the intradermal injection, or tear trough deformation treatment for under injection of orbicularis oculi.
Yeah, so good. So if I'm injecting the tear troughs, then yes, it's going to be under the muscle. If I'm injecting her crow's feet, then it's usually intradermal. If I'm doing the crow's feet. So this one is very good if I'm using it, for example, if for any, like, think of it as like a Photoshop, like an eraser. Any line, any fine line that's very thin, I will use a needle to come in and inject that fine line, because if I want to be in the dermis, I cannot do it with my cannula. Cannula can also only be subdermal.
Yeah. Do you afraid any edema or swelling using more than 0.2 ml do deep injection for Infini S?
With any filler, there's a high chance for it to cause swelling. That's the reason why I only use a very small amount. So you saw here, 0.15. She would need more filler if I did not inject the cheeks. So that's why I always inject the cheeks first and then inject, the tear troughs. The tear troughs are the last thing that I inject. I do the lifting, I do the cheeks, then, as you saw, I did the tear troughs. And the tear troughs is never the first one.
Yeah, because the official indication, the first is the fine lines.
Yes, for the fine lines, absolutely. Okay, great. Now we go to the other side. Where's the, here? Okay, we put it in the cannula. Let's use this one. What's that one? Let's change the cannula. Let's use another one, new one, fresh. Yes, thank you. Looks so nice. Yeah, it looks very nice. Yeah. All right, turn this way. That way. Perfect. And all right, guys, so the same thing that I'm doing. It's always now difficult to try to copy what we did there to this side over here. So this is what we're going to be doing. We come in more on the lateral side. Same thing. This is the lateral orbital rim. We're going to be a little bit more on the lateral to it. So we're going to be right over here. We create our little opening. Boop. And that's it. Perfect. Come in. And then we bring in my cannula. Cannula goes this way. Able to see. Perfect. And let's see if we can, there you go, perfectly. Now we're doing the temples. I've injected about 1 ml for the temples. After finishing the temples, I turn around. I will inject the cheeks that way. Remember, this is a superficial injection. You see how my cannula is quite superficial. Very nice. Come out. Good. Come out this way. Turn downwards. Pre-mesenteric, pre-auricular. Add my filler there. Always move your cannula as you're injecting. And a little bit more towards the front of the ears. This is the preauricular. I'm using a 22 gauge cannula. Put a small amount. This will provide a little bit of a lift. Then I will have only 1 ml left. This is my 1 ml. Gauze, please. Perfect. The 1 ml that is left, I've come downwards, add a little bit in the buccal area. Getting a little hard. There we go, much better. There we go, buccal area, which is basically right over here. This is the buccal area, another 1 ml. This is in the buccal area, and my 5 ml is finished. Then I will ask my lovely assistant to massage this area for me very, very well. You okay?
It's okay.
Good. Good, good, good. All right, any questions there? While she's massaging? No? People from Macedonia, you guys are quiet. So, you're surprisingly quiet. Okay. When can you do other procedures? Yeah, so that's a good question. When can you do, for example, other procedures like microneedle, radiofrequency, or anything of that sort? Usually I will tell the patients, let's do the microneedle or any energy-based device before we do the injectables. So they would come in, I would do the microneedle radiofrequency first. I will see them back, for example, after 1 week, and then we can do the injectables. Sometimes if we're doing this, which is fine, you do the injectables, however, you have to space them out a little bit longer. Okay, so if I'm going to use microneedle radiofrequency for her, I would ask her to come back and see me after 3 to 4 weeks. If I wanted to add, for example, Morpheus or something. Okay, 3 to 4 weeks after my injection. What other? Why? What do you mean? What other procedures? For what? Like what? Like Botox? Oh, you can do it in the same session, but you don't have to use the other one. You will use what we will have right now, such as, for example, the V20. Okay, so you could use that or the V5 rather than using the other brand, but you could do it exactly right after the same session, right now. Yeah, so right now, the same setting. You don't have to wait. For those type of injections, you don't have to wait. Here. Good, good, good. Good. Yeah, it'll go softer. All right, very nice. Turn this way. No.
No?
No. No, no. Okay. And no, that one. Yeah. What is this hair? Okay. Good. Perfect. Okay, now I'm moving towards the mid-cheeks. For the mid-cheeks, lateral canthal line, orbital rim, 1 to 2 centimeters underneath. Create my little opening, 1, 2, boop, that's it. And we're done. There's barely any bleeding. No bleeding, no. You come in with your cannula, you go deep, right over here, and this, I'm using L. This will fill up my mid-cheeks. towards the zygoma. Perfect. Excellent. No pain? No? Good. Excellent. Gauze. Looking lovely. Very nice. So the marionettes on the nasolabial folds this way. Come a little closer to me. Yes. Yeah. There we go. Perfect. Thank you. And now turn this way. Thank you. You create your little opening right underneath. Remember here, you want to be superficial. So this is a superficial, just a little pick. 1, 2, boop, that's it. You can barely see it. It's right over there. You go in. First of all, as I mentioned, make sure that you are making a subcision effect. So you're basically subsiding. Oh, that's all you're doing, just basically removing. And now that I'm happy with my subcision, I slowly start injecting. So my injection is quite superficial, and I inject not in a linear thread. I just simply inject and fan the whole thing. Okay, I want to make sure that I'm fanning basically everything. The whole area is being fanned. Okay, so that's a little bit of filler into that area over here. Her nasolabial folds on the left-hand side is actually quite strong. So the more superficial that you're injecting, the more you're creating a little bit of subcision to make them softer. Okay, so I've injected a little bit more. Come a little bit closer to the piriform fossa. Slowly inject. It's always fanned, so I'm not creating a sausage. Basically, we're just simply fanning it. I've injected the nasolabial folds with about 0.3. After I am done, I will come in, turn this baby around, treat a little bit of the marionette lines that she has over here, come close to the lips, and provides a little bit of an elevation of the oral commissures, right over there. Lovely. You doing okay?
It's okay.
Good, good, good. Finally, last but not least, is going to be the tear troughs. So I'm going to come and go close to the tear troughs for her eyes. Lovely. Let's see if we, okay, let's have you sit up again.
Okay.
Look, no, the camera. There you go. Look down. Like that. Yeah, like this. Good. Stay like that, okay? You okay? Yes.
It's okay.
Okay, good. Just gauze. Thank you. Look down. Look at the camera with your eyes. Yes, there you go. Perfect. Good. So this is the depth. You are submuscular, and you're adding a little bit more. So usually in my practice, in my clinic, I don't have her sit up. I'm only doing it for you guys so you can see. Okay, but that's the plane in which you would want to inject. We've injected about 0.05. Can I inject a little bit more? Lovely. You can also do a little bit of the palpebromalar groove. So we can do a little bit here on the sides, on the palpebromalar groove. Marika, you're doing very good. I like it. Very strong woman. Very strong woman. Good, good, good. Excellent. All right. Total of, yeah. Good. Just add a little bit more. I know. It looks really good. Like perfection. What do you think, Emanuela, looks good? Prego? Or perfetto? Good. Nice. Good. Teenager? Some gauze, please. Yeah. Got it. It's okay. Really nice. Really nice. Okay. Lovely. I like it. You saw yourself in the mirror? Good. Okay. Very nice. Okay, great. So, any questions here? So we've done the polylactic acid, the HA fillers. Same patient, what I'm going to be doing right now is that I'm going to finish it off by adding a little bit more of a polyrevitalizer or a biorevitalization. And in this case over here, to provide a little bit more structural for her, is that you can do basically either the V5 or the V20, okay? If you want to do the V20, there are many different ways to do it, okay? One of the ways they've talked about here, basically the company will tell you there are 5 different points for you to inject. It kind of reminds me of another company that does the exact same thing, okay? I can tell you right now that you can get the exact same results using also a cannula with your V20. And the way that it's injected is that you inject it and you inject it quite superficially. So what I'm going to be doing is that I'm going to be doing the V20 with a long cannula, but very superficially. And I'll show you how that's done, okay? And that's how I will end it off with her. Let's have you relax. We'll use the... yeah, I like big. You don't like big? Oh, no, here. I'll do that for you, don't worry. See? You cut like that. Relax. Turn this way. Excellent. We'll go to the other side first. Let's do the other side. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so I've switched now to V20. V20 is the structural one that provides more of a lift. That is a hyaluronic acid. So exact same points that we've used for my polylactic acid, I can come in. If this point is patent, which I hope it is, then I would come in with my cannula. There we go, perfect. I want to be superficial, so I'm injecting very, very superficially here. Look how superficial I am. Relax, relax. And then I will scrape the skin. Look at this. I'm scraping the skin as I'm coming out. So this is with my V20. You could do the 5 points, or you could use this cannula technique. I like using cannulas. Same thing, superficial, very superficial. My non-dominant hand on top of the tip of the cannula, I'm scraping that area up. Scraping it. Okay, that provides a little bit of a lift onto that area over here. Exactly the same thing on as I come downwards. It has to be very superficial. You have to see the cannula. Look how superficial I am. My finger scraping as I'm coming out. Same thing here, coming downwards, superficial, scraping as I'm coming out. You could use the 5 points if you like. I personally like using this point over this technique for me. Turn my way. scraping it all the way in. Go all the way down. It's like draping a curtain. So go down, 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 right over here. Perfect. You okay? Perfect. You okay?
Okay.
All right, okay, you're good, you're good. All right, perfect. You're looking really nice. Okay. All right. No, same opening. Same thing on this side with my V20. You have to be very superficial. That's the whole trick here. You have to be superficial. Superficial, superficial, drape it in, drape it in. I'm going all the way towards the nasolabial folds. Use my non-dominant finger, touch the tip, always touch the tip as I'm coming out. I am pulling and I'm also pushing my plunger. Coming in, all the way, sorry. Drape it in. Very nice. See, I've gone all the way down here. Guys, any questions? No? Everybody's watching. Any pain or no? Little.
But this
Area that more? No? Okay, good. No? Good. Good, good, good. That's good. All right, excellent. Sit up for me. Looks so good. Yeah, this is like lovely, so nice. Okay. All right. V20 at the end to cover basically the whole thing. Any questions, guys? If it's either the Greeks or the Macedonians. Yes, ladies first. If you're using the V20? So I usually space them apart about a month. You could do anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks. I tell the patient, come back and see me in about a month. Okay, so I will do them after, if I see them back after a month, you could do the exact same thing again. 1 month. You could do it what? Every month? You could do it every month. Yeah, the nice thing about V20 is that you can actually use it for also younger patients. Like, for example, a patient who's in their late 20s, early 30s, they don't have any structural problems, you can definitely use the V20. I prefer the V20, for example, over the V10 for younger patients. If it's a younger patient, use V20. If it's an older patient, a patient in their 30s, late 30s, early 40s, that's the time in which you would use PLLA. PLLA for the young? No. V20 for the young, because it's an HA complex, it's much better. It's the molecular weight. The molecular weight of the material is actually quite thicker with the V20. Okay, it's actually very structural. Okay. Yes. Any other questions? Yes. The cannula. It's the best way. Yeah. And the way that you saw it is the easiest. Yeah. Oh, wow, there's more questions. All right, let's start off with you first, ladies. Yeah. If you want to re-inject it again? Oh, in older patients. Yeah, so I mean, you're always going to produce collagen. Okay, even if you're old, collagen is still going to be produced. You may need a little bit more, okay, but you will get it. A lot of people will say like, oh, it's not very effective if you're using it for patients who are 60. That's fine, but they require multiple treatments, but you will still get there. You get it? Yes, absolutely, absolutely. For me, as a matter of fact, I prefer using PLLA in older patients rather than younger patients. You get much better improvement for those older patients. Him first, yes. Upper, a little bit upper. Okay, so the way that you saw is that I would come in and I was pulling. You can see the tip of my cannula, and then I will also scraping the dermis. So it is just upper over the PLLA. Excuse me? With a cannula, absolutely, yes. Your turn? The question is that can you mix different brands of PLLA? I mean, I don't want to answer that question with Anna here. I don't know where she went, but I'm not going to say. Oh, she's there. All right, so I prefer, I mean, technically you can, okay, but it's much better for you not to, okay, just to be on the safer side. Because God forbid if something happens, no company is going to tell you that it was their fault. They'll always blame the other one. Okay? There was a question here, yes. For body treatments, yeah, they have another one. So they have a special one that's mainly for the body. Yeah, but you use it for the buttocks, for the the sides over there, the hips, yeah. Yeah, immediately after, absolutely. If you're combining two treatments, yes. Excuse me? No, there's no model for the body today. There's nobody that I'm gonna remove their body from. No, it's only the face. Yeah. Any other questions? All right. I really love the way that you look. You look really nice. Seriously. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so our next patient over here, so we're mainly only going to be doing everything except polyallylic acid and the fillers. So she is very, very picky on the amount of injections that she wants to be doing, even though I really wanted her to do a full face, so very similar to what we did with the other patient. So what we're going to be doing now is that I'm going to ask you to sit up so people can see you on the camera. Okay? So what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be dividing into, we're going to do 3 different things. We're going to be utilizing the V5, the V20, and also the VE. So Anna, I'm going to use VE for her. Okay? So what I'm going to be doing is that the V5 is going to be injected very similar way that I would inject, for example, meso. Okay? I will inject it through multiple injection points across the whole face. Okay? The V20 is going to be injected also with a needle on those 5 different injection points. The 5 injection points that I prefer, one will include very close to the piriform fossa, which is right over here. Will include one in the mandibular angle. These are the 2. They will include the jawline, which is right over here. Then we'll include one in the zygoma and one in where the zygomatic ligament is going to be. So that's a total of 5 different points that I will be utilizing with my V20. The V5, basically all the face, multiple injections. Finally, I'm going to be using the VE, and VE is available in which countries or not yet?
We just started to sell last week. So
They started selling it last week, okay, and so it's going to be the first time that I also utilize it. It's a very thin type of filler material, mainly utilized for the eyes. It contains hyaluronic acid, which is the main thing, and also it contains amino acids, a few antioxidants, and also a little bit of peptides to revitalize and also to lighten up the eyes, especially the dark circles that patients might have, okay? She has had fillers injected, so if you can see, go down, looks to the camera. She has had a little bit of fillers here. I've already taken. Yeah, no, it's all here. See, all done. No, we're good, thank you, thanks. So so she's already had her tear troughs injected before, so we're going to try to avoid doing that. We're going to be using the VE mainly around the eyes here, also around the eyes here, this side over there, and this side. I'm going to be using a needle across all different platforms. All injections that you're going to be seeing right now are going to be injected using a needle. I would start off with the following. V20 first, because it's a structural material, okay, through the 5 different injection points, 5 on each side. Then I will go for the V5, multiple entries across the whole face. Finally, the VE, mainly around the eyes. That's how you do it. You go from up all the way down. Okay, let's have you relax. Yeah, let's see here. V20. You okay? Good? Pronto? Okay. She doesn't want fillers? No? Only? That's unfortunate. I mean, no, it's okay. All right. Okay. So we're going to be using the first one right now. So on the zygoma, entry point number 1, relax. Slowly inject. Good. Other part of the zygoma, right over here. Good. Perfect. Other part right over there. Excellent. Let's have you turn this way. Good. Last injection, right where the mandibular ligament is, quite deep. Perfect. Excellent. And then this area gets massaged very, very well. She's going to have a little bit of points that you're seeing over here. This will all go away very, very quickly. Okay, so these little points will slowly start disappearing. Okay, we're going to massage them even to make them go a little bit faster. So the same thing on this side over here that you're able to see. The zygoma, right underneath it. You inject about 0.2. And you stop. Come a little bit closer to where the apogee line is. So I'm also touching a little bit of the bone right there. Take about 0.2 again. Stop. Coming more on the lateral side. Coming towards the peripheral fossa. Another 0.2. Out. Turn this way. Feel the mandibular ligament. Go down. Touch the bone. Add filler there. Come out. And then the last one, turn this way. Yes, perfect. Thank you. Is on the angle. And right over there. Good. Any pain? Oh, just let me throw this away.
Okay.
Yeah. Any pain? No, male? E male?
No, leggermente.
Little? Okay. Okay. So after I'm done with the 20, now I'm moving towards the 5. Okay, the 5, remember, we talked about hyaluronic acid as a biostimulation. But hyaluronic acid will biostimulate up to, depending on the actual size of the filler or the material. The material in the V20 is 1,500 kilodaltons. It's a large material, so it's able to stretch the fibroblasts to cause mechanical stimulation that will last for about 3 months. V5 is a little bit less than that. Also, the concentration is also a little bit less, but also contains a material known as tetrahydrose that will cause the filler to be able to not break down. It's not a cross-linker, but it will prevent the breakdown of the HA. So pretty much a natural anti-hyaluronidase. Okay? So this comes with your V5. And the way that it's injected, it has to be injected superficially in the intradermis. So what we're going to be seeing is that now I'm going to go all the way across her face, and I'm going to be injecting it intradermally onto that area. Okay. Good. Ready? She's going to feel a little bit of pain. Not too bad, huh? It's okay? You'll need to wipe up the blood, yeah. Good. Let's change the needle. Let's change the needle. Good. Turn this way. No. Other one for the other side. Good. Yes. Here goes. I'm going to use, so I used a whole 2 ml and a whole 2 ml. Yeah. But the V20 is 2 ml on, yes, on both. So 1 ml, 1 ml. Yes. Yeah, 30 gauge. You can if you shift it from your needle to a smaller needle, a smaller syringe. Because a 2 ml syringe is very difficult to push. Yeah. goes here up. Good. Yeah. I have it here. You have? Oh, good. Turn this way. Yeah. Good. That's it. You okay? Are you okay?
Sí.
See? Manuela, you want to clean her? All right, now we do the eyes. Turn this way, perfect. Eyes, superficial, very superficial. Relax. Goes. Yes, it's meso, yes. This is VE. So this one is even softer than the actual V5 and V20. Okay, it's a liquid. It's not even a gel. Good. Almost done. Almost done. Very close. There it goes. Good. Done. Good. Massage. Yes. A lot of massage. Big time massage. All right. Any questions, guys? So you saw everything pretty much in action. The first patient was better because you got to see the PLLA, the fillers, in addition to the biostimulation with V20. The patient here, she only wanted, hydro booster. So she just wanted to kind of moisturize her face. She did not want any fillers done, no changes whatsoever. I begged her if she wanted polylactic acid. She said no. So what we just did with her is that we only added V20 into basically the 5 different areas that needs to be done, so it provides a lift, because that's what the V20 does. It provides you that lift. Then once we wanted to hydrate the skin, we've added the V5, so this provides you with hydration. And then finally, for the fine lines that she has around the eyes, we've switched to using VE. Okay, this is basically, it's very soft. It's actually a liquid. It comes in a vial. It's not even in a syringe. It comes in a vial. Okay, so and that's the reason why I use the tuberculin syringe very, very superficially into the fine lines over there. There's no swelling. The dots that she will have will go away by the time she gets back home. Where does she live? Where do you live? Where's her house? Home? Casa. In Milano? Okay, so, okay. Yeah, once she goes back to her casa, okay, her all the points will get a little bit better. Okay? Sometimes you have to tell patients that it may take 2 to 3 days for it to also calm down. Okay? Especially for the area around the eyes. They think, oh, the area around the eyes will go away very quickly. It can take up to 2 to 3 days. Okay? So you have to tell them that, or else they'll keep on calling you because they have little dots that they have. Is it going to cause bruising? Maybe, okay, because we've used needle across the whole area, so there might be a chance of bruising. However, it's a superficial injection. Superficial injections usually don't cause any bruising unless the capillary is hidden. Okay, so if the capillary is not hit, then there's no problems whatsoever. So these are the 2 different techniques that we tended to use here. So if you have any questions, which people are already raising their hands for, please do ask me. I think we're about 4 p.m. right now. Is it 4? 3:30. Okay, so we're very close to 4. So if you have any questions, let me know, and then we'll take it from there. Any questions? Okay, so we have one question. That's a good question. Okay, so the question was, do you inject the forehead? Personally, in all circumstances, the forehead has 2 major vessels, the supratrochlear artery and the supraorbital artery. Both vessels, they emanate and they originate from the bone, and once they start going into the forehead, they are usually superficial. So they are in the exact same plane in which you would be injecting your filler. I have seen patients who've been injected with this type of filler into the forehead superficially, and that has led to neurovascular compromise. So the question, would I inject the forehead? My answer is no. Okay? Not with the V20 or the V5. Okay? If I wanted to, it will have to be probably with something that's more liquidy. Okay? So I would switch either to the V1 or V2, something that's even extra soft. Because here I would want to inject even more superficial and creating blebs onto the forehead. Okay? So I would not inject the thicker ones such as the V20. Definitely not the V20. The V5 is also slightly thick, so I would also try to avoid injecting this area over here. I hope this answers your question, but that's a very good question. The forehead, you saw me, I did not inject the forehead, is because, as I mentioned, the vessels could be superficial, and I have seen patients who've been injected here with this type of treatment who've developed neurovascular compromise. So it's always much better to be safe. Okay? Don't try, you can try it, okay? But then, there's a chance for you to, if you have one patient with one problem, your career is ruined, okay? So you don't want that to happen. This area on the face is very safe. It's just this part over here. Because of those 2 vessels, the supratrochlear and the supraorbital, they may cause problems, okay? So you want to avoid them as much as possible. That's why even, for example, people with horizontal lines, I usually don't treat the horizontal lines. What I would tend to do is that I will inject a little bit of botulinum toxin. Then maybe if they needed a little bit, they have a little bit of divot, I would put in a little bit of filler with a cannula. I would put it underneath. That being said, I could use, where are you here? So I could use, for example, V5 with a cannula, not with a needle, if I'm going to be injecting the forehead. Okay? So that's the answer to your question there. Not the V20, the V5. Any other questions? The VE with Botox? Yeah, you can do that at the same time. Absolutely. But I would do that first, massage, and then I could do the Botox, yes. Yes. Which one is the best for the neck? Okay, so you could, technically speaking, you can also use any of them. So I have seen patients who've been injected with V20 without having any problems. So you could use your V20 to that area without having any issues. You massage it, it will go away. They may have a papilla for maybe about a week to 10 days, but it will dissolve. Okay, so you can technically use it. If a patient does not want to cause any problems or any papilla, for that, then I would recommend using V5 for that area. Okay, it's a little bit softer. Okay? But that's a good question. Yes? I don't... Polylactic, what's wrong with it? Yeah, polylactic acid is particulate. What? Spherical? No, I mean, if you were there when I gave that talk, no, it's random. Okay, yeah, it's some of them are small, some of them are big, some of them are like hook. Yeah, so they're not really very much. They're not like calcium hydroxylapatite or polycaprolactone. They're not a sphere. They're not microspheres. They're particles. Particles are not spheres. Okay? Any other questions? Yes. The treatment, 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks. For the V5, I tell them to come back and see me in 2 weeks. I can repeat it. Also the VE. For the face, the V20, usually a month. Yeah. There's V-body, yes. Yeah. What do you mean, what is happening? Okay. Okay, so yes. So the question is the V-body. If you're utilizing the V-body, when do you use the V-body? V-body is great if you have laxity. If there's any laxity, especially for women who have laxity mainly in the arms. Also, sometimes they can also have it around the knees. Okay, sometimes also in the buttocks area. Yes, then you could definitely use it there. Okay, and you inject it very, very superficially. So that's how you would inject it. Okay, very similar to the way that you saw it over here, but it's injected into those areas.
What about injecting into the ligaments also, if the muscles are like...
I tend not to do in the ligaments. No, I would inject superficial. Yes, only the face, yes. Any other questions? Okay. Anna, I think we're kind of almost done. We have one question here. The V-body? Remember, the polylactic acid takes about a good month for you to see the results. Okay? So my recommendation, especially if you're going to be utilizing it for the body, is to space it out. Okay? The spacing usually is going to be anywhere between 2 to 3 months. After 2 to 3 months, you re-inject the patient again. Okay? So that's how I would space them out if I'm injecting the body.
10 and 10 or 5 or 5?
No, for the body is a little bit more. Yeah, so you'd use a much more material for that area because you're covering larger areas. Yeah. What is the difference between V1 and V2? That's a good question. They're very similar. The reason why I used V1 with my polylactic acid is that 1 and 10, there's 1 and 10, 1 and then 1, 0. So that's the thing. But you could definitely use 2, okay, and you won't have any problems. They're very, very similar, okay? But 1 plus 1, 0 makes sense. It's the 1, 1, 0 protocol. Okay. All right. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, I think we are done.